Yeshua was crucified because he freed the animals in the temple. The Jewish temple was a slaughterhouse. So Yeshua, he was crucified because he liberated the animals, because he thought that animal sacrifice was morally reprehensible. So he freed the animals and turned over the tables and all of that. And he was arrested and crucified for that reason. The Ebionites were vegetarians. We know this from several sources. And we know that Yeshua's disciples were vegetarian. We know that Yeshua was probably a vegetarian. John the Baptist was vegetarian. The Essenes were vegetarians. So the Ebionites were vegetarians. If you're still eating meat, knock it off. If you're still eating meat, you still think it's cool to slaughter God's innocent, defenseless creatures just so you can have some, experience some sense pleasure and get some sustenance from the suffering of others, it's time to move on. Still doing that. Okay? Eat a vegetarian diet. That's what Yeshua taught, it's what his disciples taught, it's what the Ebionites taught, it's what the Essenes taught. The original Christian movement was a vegetarian movement. Period.
The whole purpose of the liver is to break down and utilize fats. Now, of course, you got 4,000 different reactions the liver do. It detoxifies the body by way of glutathione. It helps you deal with sulforaphane. We eat certain foods that open up the NRF2 pathways. It deconstructs and reconstructs amino acids and proteins. The liver is so amazing, it can take an actual protein and make it into a sugar if the body needs it. The liver is the manufacturing company of the body. It does spiritual things, if you ask me, because how is it taking one molecule and reshaping it and making it into another molecule? The liver is amazing. But its main purpose and function in the human body is to break down and utilize fats. That's how important fats are. The only thing is, if you eat fruits, because we didn't heal, the body, I'm not a healer, the body heals itself, I'm my own healer. When we assist and help facilitate the healing of people with diabetes, if you don't have fatty liver, I'm going to tell you to eat an all-fruit diet. And the reason why I'm going to tell you to eat an all-fruit diet is because you don't need glucose. And if you don't need glucose because you bring it in the fructose, then guess what? Your pancreas beta cells don't need to produce insulin to help you bring those glucose molecules into the cells. So you give the pancreas a rest. Now, if you do have fatty liver disease, then I can't tell you to go fructose either or do fruit juices per se. I can say you can eat low glycemic fruits, but I'm going to tell you to do a high ketogenic plant-based diet where I put you on these high-fat fruits and vegetables and these low glycemic fruits and vegetables.
COVID did not bring people closer. It ruptured human connection and relationships. Human beings are a relationally dependent species. Humans have dependency needs. The COVID crisis absolutely wreaked havoc to people because of this. From all the interpersonal conflict it caused, to loss of relationships altogether, to social separation, to quarantine, to social distancing, to fearing proximity with one another. It made people deeply lonely. It made people feel detached and disconnected. It made people fear each other. It affected the way that people enter into relationships with each other. It has negatively affected the way that children have developed socially. It has normalized people to interacting via technology rather than in person. COVID was socially traumatizing. There's no way around that. It made relationships worse, and it made people worse at relationships. And people now have to integrate and heal from all of that trauma. We need to find a way to essentially come back together. And because of all of this trauma, people are in a far worse state of mental health.
What's poppin', everybody? Welcome to the Radical Health Awards live on YouTube. Wrapping up 2025. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Falzikov, in the chat. Hey, if you're watching live right now on December 30th, the night before New Year's Eve, you can vote and you can comment and chat your picks for these awards because the decisions will be made right at the buzzer. So we have a lot of fun categories tonight. We're just going to do a year in review and have some fun. So this show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a medical professional. I don't diagnose. I don't make claims about disease. In fact, this entire video is satire, so please don't take it seriously. And if you need medical assistance, please contact your licensed medical professional. Now that we got that out of the way, we have a fun and amazing show tonight. What's up, Connor? I'm excited to be here. It's almost 2026, one night away from New Year's Eve. We're looking at 2025 in review. We are going to highlight the best and the worst trends, products, and ideas in the health space in 2025. And this year's been wild for health, has it not? Especially in the United States with RFK coming in and leading the Make America Healthy Again movement as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And as a result of that, all these regulations are getting audited and reformed. We're seeing things in the news this year that never would have been reported on before. They're almost becoming normalized now. For example, President Trump and Secretary Kennedy put together a CDC panel, Center for Disease Control. They put together a panel which, after their investigation into the efficacy and risks of certain drugs, they actually rolled back the hepatitis B vaccine recommendation for newborns, meaning they took the recommendation off the list, I think in the whole country. And they're basically auditing the entire vaccine recommendation list for the whole country. So the Overton window is shifting. And recently in Florida, Governor DeSantis just made a plan to end all school-age vaccination mandates in the state. So this is big news in health. It's giving people a little more freedom of choice. It's still, up for debate amongst people whether or not this is a good or bad idea. If you've been listening to the show, you probably know what my stance is on that. But what I enjoy about that is that we're having some of the tough conversations that need to be had. Our food system is on trial. People are strongly questioning what's in their food, whether it's seed oils or food coloring or human meat. There's been a lot of speculation about what's going into our food and what health effects they have. More people are asking questions about what's in their food than ever before. The Maha people are also banning certain additives like food colorings. Supposedly those bans will go into effect in the new year. Unfortunately, judges in some states like West Virginia are actively blocking legislation that would ban certain artificial dyes. Everyone and their mom is allergic to seed oils all of a sudden. And interest in beef tallow, raw milk, and grass-fed dead cows seems to be growing. People are still pretending to be carnivore here in 2025, but we see a lot of those cosplays coming to an end because those people are facing heart attacks, electrolyte imbalance, kidney problems, right? In 2025, we saw Liver Kings spiral into insanity, which was live on Instagram for all to see. TikTok exploded with accusations of cannibalism in the fast food chains, and we're going to investigate that later. What's up, Yana and Gabriel? Welcome, guys. So, yeah, TikTok exploded with accusations of cannibalism in the fast food chains. And people are accusing fruit of causing fatty liver disease. In the plant-based world, we're hot off the heels of the film Christspiracy, which has been making waves in the vegetarian and Christian circles. The vegan and vegetarian lifestyles are catching on, with lots of different influencers engaging with the public in creative ways to spread the message. And we'll be highlighting a few of those influencers later in the show. Drug skepticism is growing. People in 2025 are rightly being very skeptical about drugs. Liquor sales are down. Sobriety is in fashion. People are raw dogging life. And it seems like our culture is embracing sobriety for once. However, while there seems to be a boost in sobriety, many, many other people are still wildly addicted to drugs, from injectable ones to drinkable, edible, smokable, you name it. And speaking of injectable drugs, does that bring to mind heroin, vaccines? What about the weight loss drug that people are claiming is making them blind? Or what about the steroids that all the gym bros are on? Or what about the gender affirming care drugs that hijack children's endocrine systems? Liquor sales might be down, but drug use is at an all-time high. Now, 2025 might be the year for maxing. People are either looks maxing, strength maxing. We're over here fruit maxing. As Uncle Alfonso said, it doesn't matter what you're maxing as long as you're maxing. Interpersonal relationships. Now, as we're working to better ourselves, to be more attractive with our looks maxing, right? It's interesting that looking at intimate relationships, the numbers of relationships among young people are down. So there are more single people than ever before. And there's a huge divide in opinion between the traditional family style and sort of this late stage feminism, pro-choice polyamory that kind of taught everyone to be a hoe. Right? Men are being more feminized, women are being more masculinized. And I'm not sure if the herbicide atrazine has anything to do with that, right? Atrazine is the herbicide used on corn that turns the frogs gay. Who put that in the script? Anyways, even though relationship numbers are down, is 2025 the year that the traditional family unit got a little stronger? Maybe. In July of this year, the Federal Trade Commission launched a public inquiry and workshop to better understand how consumers may have been exposed to false or unsupported claims about gender-affirming care. Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act gives the FTC broad authority to protect consumers from unfair or deceptive acts or practices. And this authority could be implicated if there is evidence that medical professionals or others omitted warnings about the risks or made false or unsupported claims about the benefits and effectiveness of gender-affirming care for minors. We'll be looking at some of those clips later in the show. In the mental health department, things are going well, I would say. People are becoming more true to themselves lately. We're learning how to do that. We're breaking out of boomer stoicism and learning how to feel, express emotion. And there's a rise in people talking about their feelings. But is that really a good thing? There's also been an explosion of people talking to artificial intelligence for their therapy. Now, that can't possibly be used to nefariously influence culture now, could it? And speaking of AI, is the whole internet artificially intelligent now? AI seems to write everyone's social media posts. It makes everyone's cringy videos, and we're going to see a lot more artificial content out there before there's a big cultural swing back to authentic, natural creativity done by the human hand. But AI tech did drastically improve this year. So be careful going into 2026 that you don't get fooled by fake videos and other content. Now, at the end of 2025 here, there's still more health gurus than ever before. Everyone has become an online health coach. And there's a pattern we see, basically a pipeline of people getting sick, finding a short-term solution, and then making that solution their entire online identity, and then charging other people to learn that one short-term solution they discovered. Maybe 2026 will bring us a shift toward holistic healing and coaches who help others become their own guru without attachment to protocols and healing dogma. Now, in the spiritual community, there's not much to report. There's still a lot of fake energy healing out there and escapism into drugs under the guise of ancestral healing and plant medicine. Okay, ayahuasca and combo and other shamanic drugs are being used and abused in the name of health. Miami, Florida is officially overrun by shamanic sound baths and cacao circles, all right? Everyone is healing so hard out here that soon we might have to heal from all the healing. Ladies and gentlemen, they say laughter is medicine. So sit back, crack open a nice spring water or fruit juice, and together let's expose some of the questionable trends in the health industry and shine some light on what continues to promote the message of health and freedom for all. Let's have a good time. We're going to start with the positive awards. Okay, I'm doing the Radical Health Awards that are the superlatives for, got a Lifetime Achievement Award, Most Underrated Health Tip, Best Vegan or Vegetarian Sub-Movement, Best Vegan Beef, and Best Health Trend. Then we're going to go into the second segment of the show that is sponsored by our generous sponsors at Soylent Green, and these are the subparlatives. Okay, this will be the most sinister food product, the worst trend, the biggest psyop, hottest take, biggest scam, and the biggest threat to human health. So I hope you guys stick around and shoot some chats, shoot some messages. You can always vote. I'm going to nominate the nominations. I'll list them and talk about each one. And if there are other nominations you have that I hadn't thought of, please include them, and we can always amend this as we go. So here we go. So this picture, I just want to let you know about this picture because it's going to be the background for a lot of our slides. This is Green Springs, or Green Spring, just outside Orlando, and it's radioactive. And that's why it's green. It's a beautiful, beautiful little spring that's coming straight up from the ground. Orlando's kind of full of those springs, in fact. In Central Florida in general, and North Florida especially, there's a lot of amazing healing spring water there. And this is just one pic I took this year in 2025. Shout out to Andrew who took me there. And yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into water. We'll get into health. And the first award, you guys ready? You guys ready? All right, yeah, we're going to the superlatives first. We're going to honor the good stuff. We're going to keep it light. And then we're going to get into the dark, sinister things, which I'm pretty excited about. So thanks again for being here, y'all. Don't forget to subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave a like. All right. Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, there's a lot of OGs in this movement, and I would like to take the time to honor actually a couple of them. So, you know, there's no voting on this. There's no choices. I'm just going to give it to Mr. John Robbins. If you guys, he passed away earlier this year. John Robbins is a total legend. He's the author of this book here, Diet for a New America, which is an expose basically on the food system, drawing connections between diet, physical health, animal cruelty, and the environment. Came out in 1987. And when he got onto a talk show, I think it was Oprah or one of the big talk shows back in the 80s, you know, he just went what you would call back then viral. Everybody was talking about him. His book sold over 1 million copies, and he really pushed a lot of people toward vegetarianism, and deserves to be recognized right now. So he also John Robbins founded the organization EarthSave in '88, and he co-founded the Food Revolution Network with his son Ocean, who still runs it to this day. John Robbins was a leading voice in the plant-based movement. Now, actually, I don't know if you guys knew, but his name comes from Baskin Robbins. Like his dad and his uncle were Baskin and Robbins, and they started the ice cream company. And, you know, he tells the story in his books about one of his family members getting sick and him seeing, you know, just the downfall and what a standard American diet can do to somebody. And it spurred him into this, you know, this lifelong dedication into natural food and natural diet and health. So big ol' shout out to John Robbins. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the show, and much love to you and your family. Now, I was getting ready to put this out, and I had to amend the slideshow just today because I found out that another legend in the plant-based movement passed away just yesterday. So, John Robbins, thank you for everything you've done. You get the Radical Health Lifetime Achievement Award. You're a legend. And everybody, if you haven't read his book, Diet for a New America, and there's another one that I think I like even more called Food Revolution. I highly recommend checking those out. Now, I found out yesterday that another big legend, Viktoras Kalvinskas, passed away. Now, Viktoras Kalvinskas was widely regarded as the grandfather of the living foods movement. And he started the Hippocrates Health Institute with Ann Wigmore. Hippocrates was originally founded in Boston. That's where him and Ann started it. And then it has since moved to Florida where it stands today and where it is in full operation, run by Brian Clement. So I'm going to read this little story I got from, one of his many obituaries that kind of told you a little bit about who he was. It's a very moving paragraph here. Victorius Kulvinskis died a beautiful, conscious death, as those of us who knew him would expect. He rose out of bed, stood on his own, and hugged his son and daughter-in-law, telling them how much he loved them before laying back down and taking his last breath. He was victorious in death as he was in life. Victorius was a man of extraordinary brilliance, humility, and unwavering devotion to the well-being of life on this planet. Yeah, I just thought it was amazing that he got out of bed, hugged his family, and then laid down and took his last breath. Total Legend, Survival in the 21st Century is his big book, and he gets a honorable mention in 2025. He passed away just yesterday. So shouts out. All right. Our next nomination, our next category here is the best vegan/vegetarian movement of 2025. So this one honors a subculture within the vegetarian or plant-based world that exposes, another overlapping culture to this philosophy, this practice. And so there have been a few popping off that you might not have expected. So let's go through our nominations for best vegan vegetarian movement of 2025. So ethical fruitarianism is nomination number 1. Now, ethical fruitarianism is basically the practice of eating only fruit for the preservation of all life. Because the philosophy here is that fruit does not require death to harvest and enjoy. Because you pick that, I'll use an example of a fruit I picked today. Pick the avocado off the tree, and the tree doesn't die. So all the carnists who try to argue against veganism and say, "Oh, your veganism kills all these plants." Well, not if you're fruitarian, because you pick the fruit all day and those trees keep living. Not to mention, now you have a seed or hundreds of seeds, if it's the case of a watermelon or a papaya, hundreds of seeds to then go and propagate. So fruit is actually a completely karma-less food. You kill nothing to eat it. And it is life-giving because it is still living. It's vibrationally alive. And the seed is kind of what proves that to you. The seed will then grow into a whole nother tree and give you a whole nother, lifetime of food. An avocado a day does keep the doctor away. So ethical fruitarianism has been a big movement within veganism. It is basically veganism to the extreme. And so here this is a post by my friend Nicholas. He runs a food forest and retreat center and vegan community in Ecuador. He says, why I choose not to eat any seeds, including grains, pulses, nuts, and oil seeds. He says, seeds are the living embryos of the plants and have protecting defense mechanisms not to be eaten. Also, elevated chemicals that promote growth and anabolism. Being a fruitarian, I choose to eat only the nutritious flesh that surrounds the seeds when they are mature, to fill a symbiotic exchange with plants. Fleshy fruits give me food and nourishment to keep me strong and happy. Me, in return, I choose to honor their living embryos, which is the seed, by avoiding masticating them and dispersing them into the soil. So I don't know if you guys are hip to, ethical fruitarianism and why it's a thing. It's, again, for the preservation of all life. And you never have to eat any seeds or leaves or roots. You never have to uproot a plant in order to harvest the fruit. And it's life-giving. It's all for the preservation of life. So that's nomination number 1 for the best vegan movement in 2025. Oh, and then I got one more little clip to share on this that Nicholas also shared. He outlines what he thinks would be a healthy, slow, conscious transition to an ethical diet from vegetarian to fruitarian. And it goes from vegetarian to vegan, cutting out all animal products, going to high raw, eating mostly raw food, about 1 cooked meal a day, and then going to most days raw, then raw vegan, fruit-based raw vegan, then fruitarian. Now, this is just his opinion. it's not even necessarily my opinion, but I'm sharing it because I think it's super rad. And I think this is an amazing sub movement that we've seen a lot of popularity come out of. A lot of people are actually jumping on this fruitarian train, not because of the philosophy as much, but I think the proof's in the pudding. When you do it, you feel really good. It might take a minute for your gut to adjust to it, right? And your microbiome to adjust, but the proof is in the pudding. You know how it feels when you eat only raw, high vibrational living food that is mostly water, fiber, enzymes, vitamins, and minerals. So, ethical fruitarianism. Our second nomination for the best vegan vegetarian movement in 2025 is Nazarene Christian vegetarianism. Now, what is that? What is Nazarene Christian vegetarianism? This basically came about, well, the movement in 2025 came about from the film Christspiracy. So shout out to Cam Waters and Kip for producing Christspiracy. It has really made some waves. It has really gotten a lot of people on the internet in real life asking the question, how would Jesus kill an animal? Also, who was the historical Jesus? And when you ask those questions, the answers were led to involve the facts that Jesus came from the Nazarene community, a sect really, which is semi-synonymous with Essene, and a huge creed of the Essenes was to be vegetarian. They were completely against animal sacrifice, and they were against eating the flesh of animals. So, that's not the only thing that tells us that. There are a lot of prophetic anti-sacrifice messages in the Bible, and Jesus himself has that climactic scene in the Gospels where he drives out the money changers and, remember, those who sold doves, or if you're reading the book of John, those who sold doves, oxen, and sheep. So he kicked out the meat sellers, the animal sellers, and the sacrificers from the temple. And then I think it was in Luke, it says he taught in there daily. So he not only kicked out all the animal sacrificing people from the temple, he then commandeered the whole thing, returned it to a house of prayer. So now we got a lot of Christians on board with the vegan and vegetarian movement. So this to me is huge. That's why Nazarene Christian vegetarianism has been nominated for the best vegan or vegetarian movement in 2025. There's so much more I could say about this movement. I've been really catching that wave. I mean, I've been surfing on that wave since before Christspiracy came out. Shout out to Old World Florida, talking about these connections. We did a live stream, a couple years ago about Jesus being vegetarian. And at that point, I hadn't even really read the Gospels. I don't even know why I was on that show. But now I'd be able to definitely speak on that topic. When I read the Gospels, and I've read all of them multiple times, it's pretty clear that he was against animal sacrifice, that he wanted God's house of prayer to be that, and that he taught compassion and love and life, right? And fasting. Remember, he taught fasting. Anyways, Nazarene Christian vegetarianism. Third up for the best vegan vegetarian movement of 2025, we have street activism. So there's a lot of street activism out there, a lot of people posting these interactions on social media. And I think this is a great way to get the word out. I mean, this is a great way to confront people, right? Not in a harsh way, but I mean, confront in the true sense of the word. Con is with front, right? Like to put two fronts together, to face people, to speak to them face to face. Because we all know online can be a bit, what's the word? People can be mean online, and people aren't real online. There's a lot of bots out there. So street activism, I want to listen to this one video of this guy here, but this is my friend Shannon on the right. That's her doing solo activism on the street. I'm pretty sure this is in Florida somewhere. And she's got a TV and she's showing the, dangers, well, the horrors of animal factory farming. She speaks to people, she engages people, and she's even connecting to the restaurants downtown to get vegan cheese on the menu, things like that. So that's Shannon. And then let's watch this one little video from our guy here.
Right?
I think it's abominable. How dare you stand in that
Well, see, no. You're misunderstanding. This is an observation. So let me ask you one question. Could I ask you what you call abuse, roughly speaking?
harming them,
Yeah.
sexually abusing them, hitting them,
Okay.
starving them,
I agree.
beating them, and I watched a program on dog fighting.
Okay. I agree with you. So what if I was to ask you if we were to take a cow into the slaughterhouse, hang them upside down, shoot them in the head, cut their throat, and turn them into steak or burgers or a leather jacket? Is that abuse?
Farming background.
Is that abuse?
Aye. Well.
Come on now.
I
Is it
suppose
abuse
if
or not? You
you're-
defined
you're
abuse to me.
trapping me now, you see.
Yes, exactly. Because you're
Well-
going to tell me you're against abuse and now you're going to try and defend it, right?
Animals
You-
were put on earth, and according to the Bible.
I believe the Bible, but anyway, it's irrelevant.
I would have said Genesis 1. I would have said Exodus 20, do not kill. I would have said Jeremiah 7, but it's irrelevant.
So are you going to tell me that hanging an animal upside down and cutting their throat when you can just eat or wear something else? Yes, with a captive bull, I know, I've seen it. Are you going to tell me that's humane? That's not abuse?
Probably not, but it's more necessary.
It's not necessary.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't.
So I knew you would
don't
defend it.
subscribe
You're
to
now
that.
defending animal abuse. And you talked about sexual exploitation. Do you know how the dairy industry works? How they forcibly impregnate the females and then abduct their children away from them? Is that sexual exploitation?
I'm not changing my mind.
Yeah. Typical.
His sign says it's totally okay for humans to abuse animals for pleasure. And obviously people come up and, see that and they go, that's not okay. And they call him out, and then he calls them out for paying for it. So I wonder how that lady's night went. She gets home. Do you think she even gave it much thought? And yeah, that's why I don't know if street activism is effective. I've never done it myself. I would like to, but I'm not sure how effective it is, because that lady might have just been like, I'm not changing my mind, continues with her day, and she's off. But Shannon here says that she, affects a lot of people. So anyways, that is the third nomination for Best Vegan Vegetarian Movement of 2025 rather. And the last one is multi-day fruit festivals. So this is something that's been growing in the last few years. There's been more fruit festivals popping off. And I can speak from experience on this one. This is one of the best trends happening right now. This is a way to connect with people that you might not be able to find in your town or your city where you are. It's also a way to meet a bunch of people and get inspired by those who have been, eating a certain way for a long time. A lot of these fruit fests kind of align with the raw vegan thing. And so if you want to meet some people who have been doing this for 30, 40 plus years, the fruit fests are a opportunity to do that. Not to mention you just meet the best friends and have the best food. So multi-day fruit festivals, a lot of them have popped off in 2025. I was at one in Michigan. I was at one in Texas. They're all over the world. There's the UK Fruit Fest. There's the Dutch Fruit Fest, right? They're everywhere. So they're growing too. I encourage you to find them in your area or maybe start one. But yes, those are the 4 nominations. What do you guys think in the chat? You got any choices, any nominations here, or any? I have your best choice, your top choices for the best plant-based movement of 2025. Ethical fruitarianism, Nazarene Christianity, street activism, multi-day fruit fests. I posed this question to the Instagram. We got a vote for Nazarene from Lucid in the Wild. I posed this question to Instagram, and it was a very tight race between Christian vegetarianism, ethical fruitarianism, and multi-day fruit fests. There's about a third each on those choices. The man on the street, the street activism, and maybe the way I worded it, public debate, that's maybe not as effective as street activism. But yeah, what does the chat say? Nazarene and multi-day fruit fests. Yeah, it's a close race, guys, and they all deserve recognition. But the judges have spoken, and the award is in. The best plant-based movement of 2025 is the Nazarene Christian vegetarian movement. This has just taken the internet by a storm, and I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. I'm in this arc, baby. I just shouted out a few of the channels that I like to listen to that do talk about this, that have pushed the envelope here. Christspiracy, Cam Waters, the Jesus Way podcast with Aaron Abke and James Benefico, Old World Florida with Dr. Longo. The Essene Ebionite Church of Christian Mysticism is actually what it says. It's a church. It's on YouTube. You can hear sermons. You can learn how to pray in the water while you're doing a self-baptism, which is a sort of an Essene creed as well. The water, the ritual cleansing, ritual immersion baptism, along with the vegetarianism. And then, of course, we got James Tabor, who's a deep biblical scholar on the subject. But that's got the award. Congratulations to the winners, the Nazarenes, and any Christian who has maybe seen Christspiracy or heard one of the debates with one of these people and decided to stop killing. Like, huge shout out to you guys. Like, if you don't have to call yourself a Nazarene, but if you are Christian and re-examined and reevaluated your ethics and your habits this year because maybe of some content that's been going around, then you get the award because you did the work to actually change and reduce the amount of killing that we're doing on this planet. I don't think Jesus would have wanted that. I don't think God wanted that. And we could talk all day about that, but we got to move on. We got a lot of awards to cover. So I definitely highly recommend checking out Cam's videos. Any of these, he's so eloquent and very steeped in the Bible when it comes to the question of how would Jesus kill an animal, or did God ever want sacrifice, right? Okay, next category, most underrated health tip. There's a lot of these, and let's see what we got. I don't even remember what I nominated here. Again, if you're in the chat and you want to nominate as we're going, you can always throw something in there, or if you want to vote, sway my decision, you're welcome to. Most underrated health tip. First nomination is chew more. Now, there is a study or this feature that came out in 2025. It's an article about chewing. It referenced this Japanese study about chewing. It does help you slow down. It does help you masticate your food more, helps you digest better, helps you eat less food, and it helps you absorb the food that you do eat better. So chewing is a hugely underrated health tip. And I think actually a lot of people could improve their health just from chewing more, just from turning the food that they're eating into a smoothie before it goes down. Actually, when I did that, I noticed like my gut just got way quieter, stopped farting as much. And chewing can really, really do a lot. Now, yes, here are the basic understandings of why chewing is good. Slower eating breaks things down, nutrient absorption, right? More conscious eating, more mixture with saliva, which has the enzymes in it that break down starch. But did you guys know that teeth are also piezoelectric? Piezoelectric is something that generates an electric charge when under pressure. So teeth have piezoelectric materials in them. Every time you chew, you are generating voltage. How cool is that? Every time you chew, you're sending energy up your nerves to your brain. And I just think that's so cool. So yeah, this is a study about using other piezoelectric materials in dentistry, but I just highlighted it to show us that, yeah, even modern science recognizes that teeth are piezoelectric. You become more electric the more you chew. And then one more thing I'll say about chewing is that it can actually reform your entire facial structure in a good way. We mentioned looks maxing earlier, and there's a lot of chewing that goes on for looks maxing because it defines the jaws. It actually reshapes and widens your jaws and your sinuses. And you can open collapsed sinuses and fix mouth breathing with chewing. So best or most underrated health tip, nomination 1 is chewing. And I see Stacy in the chat. She wants to vote dancing, and I got you, girl. Why dancing can be more powerful than antidepressants. Dancing, I think, is a great health tip. It's a little underrated. I mean, we see people mentioning it, but it's never like the first thing people mention. But yeah, let's chew and dance all at the same time. We'll just heal so fast. No, obviously with the somatic healing, the body moving to rhythm, shaking things off, obviously has health benefits. So yeah, dancing. Oh, here's a good one. Third nomination for most underrated health tip. And again, this is not just the best health tip. It's the most underrated. It's like the one that everyone sleeps on. And in a world and in the health system where we see a lot of people saying, you can't eat this. This is poison. This will kill you. This is bad. One of the most underrated health tips might be Hakuna Matata, bro. Don't worry about it. Eat whatever you want. So this is a plate of greasy French fries that I did eat this year. So this is like a once a year and probably less than that going forward because I didn't feel good after I ate this. But it was like, it's plant-based. It's potatoes, it's mushrooms, it's onions. It's a lot of grease and oil, and I know that. But to eat whatever you want and to not have any guilt or shame around it is very liberating. It's really nice to not have to worry so much. I just see a lot of people in the health space, a lot of these raw vegans and people who are into fasting, they might deal with a health issue and they want to heal really bad. And so like all this food now becomes off limits and poison and like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And then maybe since they didn't transition slow enough, they go back to that food and then they feel terrible about it. Oh my God, I ate food that I shouldn't have. I set back my healing, all this stuff. And they freak out. And then that guilt actually messes you up worse than the food did. So eat whatever you want. That is a health tip of 2025 that I don't hear enough people talking about. Obviously, that can go too far, but I think what this means is not worrying too much, but to choose and accept every decision you make in the moment and choose it and be okay with any of the consequences that come from it. All right. And the fourth most underrated health tip is don't overeat. This may sound simple, but we're going to listen to this 96-year-old raw foodist explain why it's not about, cutting out bread. It's not about cutting out coffee or whatever it is that you think is bad for you, that you think you need to cut out. He can explain how it's more about moderation. He doesn't try to push people into raw foods. He really tries to help them just keep things moderate, temperate, and don't overeat. So I have to pull up this video here. Let's check it out.
They say, well, what's overeating? Because each person is a different place. So the question is fruit, sugar okay? And what's overeating?
Well, Paul, overeating is different for every person based on your activity level. Like when I was training for marathons and longer distances, I ate more fruit, but I never felt like I needed eat humongous amounts of fruit like I hear some people are doing. I don't know how anybody could possibly sit down and eat tremendous amounts of fruit. I just don't see how you could do it.
So what do you mean by tremendous amounts of fruit?
Well, I think 15 pieces of fruit is a lot of fruit. I mean, I heard years ago about people eating, 30, 35, 40 bananas. I mean, to me, you would never catch me doing it. It's just totally unnecessary. Paul, you can eat tremendous amount of fruit, and you're not going to roll over and drop dead. What I'm talking about, basically, what I'm interested in, what I'm doing at this point in my life, even though I'm retired, I'm trying to help out the average person. Because we're living in a sick population in this country. The average person has no idea what's being done to them, have no idea what's happening. And if you tell them the truth about diet and lifestyle, they're going to think it's quackery. If you tell the average person today that you can take somebody who has an incurable disease by changing their lifestyle, and basically, I think it's more important to understand the concept of what you leave out than getting what you eat so you get all the nutrients. Getting all the nutrients is relatively easy. That's why you're having different people on podcasts. They're talking about different dietary lifestyles, and it works. And then you hear somebody else says something that's different. It works because they're living within the parameters where you're leaving out the processed food, not overeating, not eating late at night, and you're giving your body free to fulfill its biological design and eat and to heal. Your body is designed to heal and prevent disease. If a person eats a clean diet and don't overeat, they can go 30, 40 years and never have a cold.
Woo! Do you hear that? A person can go 30, 40 years, never have a cold, as long as they keep a clean diet and don't overeat. Thank you, Fred Bishy. Again, 96-year-old raw food pioneer. He's interviewed a lot by this guy, Paul Neeson, on the right. Paul's show is there up on top, the Raw Life Health Show. I recommend checking his channel, actually all of his YouTube channels out. And he hosts Fred a lot, and Fred's a legend. So thanks to him, we have Don't Overeat as the 4th nomination for most underrated health tip of 2025. So what do you guys think? Chew more, go dancing, eat whatever you want without guilt, and don't overeat. What do you think the most underrated health tip is? Again, I brought this to Instagram, and Chew More and Go Dancing were the favorite picks. So, and it looks like Chew More just edged out the Go Dancing. And honestly, I do think that is a more accurate representation, because Chew More is underrated. Like, nobody talks about it. No, everyone talks about what to eat, and no one tells you how. So, Chew More, baby. 2025. All right. Let's get into the next category here. The best vegan beef. Let's go. All right. So the first nomination for best vegan beef is a good old portobello mushroom, ladies and gentlemen. And I recommend that you marinate that portobello mushroom in balsamic vinegar and beet juice. And as you're cooking it, cook down the balsamic and the beet juice to a glaze and a sweet, delicious marinade for this vegan beef steak that is simply a portobello mushroom. Nothing crazy about that. All right. You thought I was going to say, oh, Beyond Burger beef, or like the Impossible beef, or you thought I was going to say some fake plant. No. Or fake meat. I know a mushroom's not even a plant, but you can call it plant-based, I guess. Second nomination for best vegan beef is sunflower seeds, lentils, tomato paste, soy sauce, jalapeno, and cumin with some pepper and garlic powder. You can use the sunflower seeds or walnuts. I don't eat walnuts. I have an allergy, but I love sunflower seeds, and I've made this before. In fact, this picture I made with the homie, and it's, yeah, we combined the sunflower seeds, lentils, tomatoes, dehydrated it a little bit to get it a little chewy. And yeah, you can cook it if you want, but this is sort of a raw version. And that makes a really good ground beef style dish. So that's the second nomination for Best Vegan Beef. The third nomination for Best Vegan Beef goes to Misfit Vegan calling out John Kohler and Marcus Rosencrantz for not being vegan or raw. And let's listen to a little clip about that. Basically, these two big plant-based influencers, they're raw vegan influencers. They each use that term, and it sort of came to the surface that, they're not 100% raw nor 100% vegan. And that may not be a big deal, but I think it's a big deal for people like Jeanette or anyone who's trying to maintain not only transparency, but like a high standard, right? So let's listen to Jeanette talk about it.
A lot of people want me to not criticize other people. They're doing the best they can. Marcus Rothkraft, however you say his name, I don't know. He's doing the best he can. Live and let live. Okay, well, what about the animals? What about the animals? We don't live and let them live. Sorry, but God put something in my heart to read bullshit. I am able to see bullshit and say it. Most people can't see it. I can see it. Maybe you can see it too. When I see bullshit, I call bullshit. If you know better, you've got to do better, or else you're going to suffer. These animals are not here to be abused, artificially inseminated, tortured, enslaved, and murdered for our fucking 5-minute meal. I don't care if there's billions of people eating animals and their secretions. I don't care. The fact that Marcus eats fish and dairy, he let me down. He disappointed me. I wasn't a fan of his, but I did think he was a raw vegan. I thought he was a vegan at least. And he's not. So I got upset because these animals don't deserve this shit. And I don't care how many billions of people are doing it. Wrong is wrong, even if everyone's doing it. And right is right, even if no one is. Boo. Eat fruit, be cute. You got this.
Woo! Yeah, so where's my other slide here? Thank you, Jeanette. I mean, thank you for speaking your mind and your truth. You're definitely one of the most honest people out here. And if you don't know Misfit Vegan, guys, check her out. She posts every day on YouTube. She's got a lot of great content, a lot of great interviews, actually. She interviewed a lot of people this year. She put out a ton of content this year. Definitely deserves a shout out. And also, so you guys might need the backstory to the whole calling out thing. At the Vegan Wellness Retreat in the summer, she interviewed John Kohler in person and basically came right out and asked him, what about that thing that you eat, which was a supplement that comes from milk, and exposed a little bit of hypocrisy. I wasn't a big fan of this interview. I kind of thought she was listening not to learn from John, but to react and to give her opinion. And I think he made a video after this, but then she made another one. And this one I highly, highly recommend. It's called What I Would Do If I Were John Kohler and Fruit Gave Me Headaches. Because he was explaining why he stopped being completely raw or why he moved away from fruit and started embracing some cooked foods and stuff. And she outlined 3 things that I think are amazing takeaways. Definitely watch the What I Would Do If I Were John Kohler video. My takeaways I got from that video were that colonics should be step 1. That it's not always about what you're putting in your mouth. Sometimes you got to clean out the trunk. Okay. And if he never did a colonic, then he might be getting these headaches from some old impacted waste that wasn't removed. And so I think that's a fair criticism, is to say hey, before you stop and blame the fruit, have you tried a colonic? So that was a great point that she made. Number 2 was that fear-based thinking can make you sick. That if you're always reading the science and getting, these messages from, quote, the science, that tells you need this and you can't have this, or this causes that, is going to create a lot of mental stress and fear. And she went deep into, how we got to get out of the fear trap. And then the last little thing that I took away from that video was that you never need animal products. You can eat them for whatever reason you want, but you never need them. And I think I agree with that. I mean, obviously there's exceptions. You're in the wild, you're starving, you're in survival mode. I guess we're not talking about that. We're talking about when all food is available, which it has been for my whole life. I've been lucky in that sense. You never need to eat animal products. So to go and take a supplement that has animal products in it because you're afraid of something happening, that's a fear-based thought. And I just appreciated her perspective on that. So yes, that is my third nomination for best vegan beef, was Jeanette calling out John Kohler and Marcus Rosencrantz for not being raw or vegan. And I also just want to say, I love John Kohler. I love Marcus. I hung out a lot with John in Texas. Great dude, super knowledgeable. His YouTube channels are amazing. I'm not talking trash on him. Really just highlighting Jeanette and this beef because it's funny. And there's some truth in there that I'd like to mention. So we got the portobello mushroom cooked with vinegar, balsamic, and beets. We got the sunflower seeds with lentils and spicy cumin tomatoes. And we got Misfit Vegan calling out John and Marcus. What do you guys think it is? The votes are in. The judges have spoken. The Radical Health 2025 award for best vegan beef goes to, because I don't want to promote drama, even though I did a little bit. We're going with the sunflower seeds, lentils, and spicy cumin tomatoes. It's a super delicious recipe. If you need it, again, here it is. It's not the exact recipe, but just the ingredients you'll need. Have fun with it. You can do it raw. You can cook it. You can dehydrate it, make it as spicy as you want, and get off those animal products, people. There's always a substitute. All right. Next category. Best health trend. Okay, so this, I think, will be the last category in these superlatives before we get to the Soylent Green sponsored subparlatives, where we're going to roast some of the evil villains of the health space. But yes, best health trend. Let's get into it. First one, nomination, barefoot shoes. This has to be one of the greatest trends of all human existence, because the more you wear regular toed shoes, people, the more your feet look like that. So on the left, you see a healthy foot of newborns and adults in barefoot cultures. And on the right, you see a deformed foot of a shoe wearer. You see that there's no straight line between the heel and the toe. There's a deformation in the two bones, the metatarsal and the phalange of the big toe. And this is 100% caused, even though I don't make claims about cause of disease, by modern shoes. Okay. In fact, regular shoes hurt your feet in 4 ways. Okay. The pointy toe boxes push your toes together, creating the bunion. Number 2, there's a toe drop, even in men's shoes, which is a thicker heel than it is at the toe. And what that does is it pitches your whole body forward and makes you adjust in your hips and gives you back problems. There's also arch supports in shoes that weaken your natural arches. They take away from your foot's innate ability to provide its own spring system. And lastly, shoes prevent the human from establishing electrical ground between his bare foot and the earth. So positively charged ions that collect in the body are able to dissipate when in contact with the negative ions in the ground. So that's a few ways how shoes can harm us. The more we get on these barefoot shoes that have either a copper grounding unit or just go outside barefoot, the more we can reconnect to the earth, reconnect to our bodies, and not walk around with deformations. So that's nomination number 1. Number 2, water fasting. We've seen a lot of new inspiration around water fasting. Here are 2 posts from my friend Sinclair. I actually did a long fast with him. He was one of 22 other people at the Tanglewood Fasting Center when I was there. Also, interesting news about that place in 2025, it burned down, but that's a whole nother story. Here are a few of his testimonials. A 38-year-old woman completely healed dermatitis in 7 days of water fasting. A 54-year-old male with a bursting appendix was saved by a 10-day water fast. The client called Sinclair from the hospital and was hours away from the surgery. Professional ballerina unable to dance due to a degenerative spine was back on her feet dancing in 6 weeks with the power of dry fasting. Now, I don't promote dry fasting because I've never done it, and I kind of think it's a little dangerous, especially for beginners. So water fasting is the nomination here as the best health trend of 2025. And you can read all the others. You know, this whole post, there's like a whole thread of testimonials on this one post. Check out Sinclair Fisher Gray. He's got a documentary called Fasting the Healer Within that he made with his brother. And if you want more fasting inspo, go follow him. So best health trend, nomination number 3, grow your own food. So these are 2 pictures from my friend's garden up in Maine. Shout out Mitch with the big kale and the delicata squash. We actually cooked up both those one night. The delicata squash tasted like cornbread. Pretty fascinating, pretty delicious. And I made the kale into sort of like a collard greens, stewed greens type of dish. It was a very southern meal that we had in Maine autumn. So grow your own food, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this is a way to stop being dependent on the system, right? And stop eating all their crappy pesticides and chemicals that they're spraying on the stuff. And to have food that's fresh and ripe and right in your backyard or your front yard. Here's a little video of my friend Patrick, Grow Your Own FL on Instagram. That's his business. And this is just a little food forest outside of his place. It doesn't show the whole thing. It's actually pretty massive. But here you can see papaya, some sugar cane, and a raised bed with some herbs and stuff in there. And that's a big mango tree in the backyard, I think. And I know we're in Florida. Okay, and he's moving a banana pup. So that's a banana tree, basically, that he's transplanting over to a new spot. And by the way, that's how you propagate bananas. I don't know if you guys knew that. You don't need seeds in bananas because the pups just grow from the rhizome, from the root. And you just dig up a pup and move it over here, and then you have a whole banana tree, and then it turns into a banana circle, and they just keep growing. So growing your own food, definitely nominated for Radical Health Award for the best health trend of 2025. A lot of more people are doing it, and I think we need even more people to do it. As soon as you get that dream house, right? All right, so the best health trend so far, barefoot shoes, water fasting, growing your own food, and one more nomination, vaccine skepticism. Apparently it's growing, people. And apparently to some people it's a problem. Here is a lady, I think with the British government, trying to tell you why you should not skip your flu vaccine this year. And that the numbers have been going down. Oops, let's try that again.
Number has actually increased a little bit every year for the past 3 years. So we're seeing a bit of an increase in parents who are actively declining the vaccine. And what
increase in parents declining. So that's the trend right now.
One of the things that I think it's important to do today is just remind everyone why it's important that children get the flu vaccine. So the first thing is, flu's not the cold. We've talked about that. It can make children really sick. Even if they don't need to go to hospital, it's miserable. You are absolutely floored by it, and it can take you a good while to get over it. So you don't want that to happen.
What does it do? You can get sick, guys, and it takes you a while to get over it. And you don't want that to happen. So you better go get your shot. Man, I'll tell you what, I haven't got a flu shot in 20 years, probably more. And I mean, why do you think people are so hesitant about vaccines when, when these are the kind of headlines we're seeing, that this year's flu shot is linked to higher flu risk in adults? Am I reading that correctly? Yes, April 8th, 2025, the National News Desk reported that you have a higher chance of getting the flu if you get the shot. And then they got to go send their health experts to go convince us that no, it's still a good idea. You don't want to get sick. Well, no, we don't. All right, so we took these choices to Instagram, and growing your own food won. I don't know if that's considered a landslide, but it's a pretty wide margin. And that is also the choice that the judges went with. So growing your own food, ladies and gentlemen, is the best health trend of 2025. If you're doing it, good job. If you're not, that's okay. You know, can you support people who are? Can you support the local farmers? Can you localize that food system? Yeah, keep eating the crap food and get your shots. Man, we're heading straight to Soylent Green. We'll get there next. Here are a few resources you guys might want to investigate in your area if you want to access to these resources for growing food. You can get free mulch. Okay, Chip Drop, get chipdrop.com. You got tree trimmers sometimes have to pay to dump their mulch somewhere that they've just chipped, and they'll bring it to you. Landscapers, lumber mills, maybe. You can generate your own soil by composting your own kitchen scraps and your yard scraps. Excuse me. There's also local compost companies and municipal compost companies and manure, from farms that you can get to fertilize and enrich your soil. There's also seeds that you can get from, various people, community gardens, from your own food, right? Not every fruit wants to be planted again from seed, but many seeds you can take and just throw in the ground and it'll pop up. And there are some libraries now that carry seeds, actually. I just saw that. I went to the library a couple of weeks ago and saw that they had seeds there. And plant sales, cuttings. You can literally cut a branch off some people's trees and stick that in the ground and it will grow into a tree. So there's a lot of resources out there. I hope you guys can access them. Okay, now before we go to the subparlatives, the Soylent Green Awards, I want to just shout out. I shouted out some of the multi-day fruit festivals earlier, and I'm just going to give a little plug to some of the upcoming raw, vegan, and plant-based events in 2026. So you got, I think that's Karen Ramsey's in Costa Rica. Then you got the Health Optimization Cruise. You got the homie Mike doing the Vietnam Fruit and Nature Retreat. Check him out at the Fruit Monk. If you guys want to spend a week or two in Vietnam and walk around the jungles and the cities and get, epic durian and fruits, definitely check out the Fruit Monk. More stuff in Costa Rica. And then for the United States, we got Texas, 2 events in Texas. We got the Vibrant Vegan Fest in Missouri. Woodstock Fruit Fest is back. They were not around the last year. And so everyone's been highly awaiting the Woodstock Fruit Fest. Vegan Wellness Retreat in Gaylord, Michigan. I went to that one. It's really awesome. And in fact, I'll be there again this summer, and I'll be performing music during the dinners. And then we got the Thailand Adventure Retreat in May with Grant Campbell and Omira. Check that out at rawausieathlete.com. So, all right, guys, we're about to pop into the Soylent Green Awards portion of the show. But first, I got to play an ad. I got an ad read to do. Excuse me. satisfied with life? Are you lost and confused in a world that was created by nothing and has no purpose? Do you lack confidence in humanity and think that maybe the earth would be better without humans? Do you think you evolved from a monkey? You may be suffering from atheism. Atheism inflicts a large portion of society today. It's a deadly disease led by the notion that since you can't prove a transcendent God by modern scientific means, then one must not exist. Symptoms of atheism include apathy, existential dread, moral relativism, and compliance with false authorities. But don't worry, there's a cure. Ask your doctor if God is right for you. God promises salvation for all beings through living in accordance with his laws. He loves you and wants you to succeed and gave you the power of discernment to know what's right and wrong. You have free will choice in this universe, to do harm or to do good. Once you see we were made by a benevolent creator and you start listening to his word, you'll begin to align with the highest good that he has for you. You don't need a holy book to find God because his laws are written on your heart. Direct symptoms of God include love, wisdom, forgiveness, and a feeling of interconnectedness. Side effects may include compassion, inspiration, strength, and helping one's neighbor. So remember, when it comes to relieving existential pain, drugs and stimulants have seriously negative effects. Go with the natural choice. Go with God. Go with God. You know, we don't plug pharmaceuticals here, but I made an exception. All right. This one's going to be fun because I'm as surprised as you might be with this next category. We have the most surprising non-vegan product of 2025. You guys might have known about this one, but maybe not. Oranges. Now, what? Why are oranges not vegan? It's because they are mostly all, and if they're commercially shipped, across the country or around the world, if they're not hyper local, they're probably covered in, well, not only thiabendazole and orthophenylphenol and imazalil and all the fungicides, but shellac. You guys know what shellac is? Shellac is an excretion from a bug. So the lac bug, this is what is on our fruit. And it's not just oranges, ladies and gentlemen. It's more than that. But the lac bug secretes this resin that is, quote, edible. I guess anything's edible, right? But yeah, that's right on the package here of the oranges. This contains shellac-based wax to maintain freshness. So shellac is from lac. Lac is the excretion of a bug, and it's all over our oranges. So that is nomination number 1 for most surprising non-vegan product. Nomination number 2, vitamin D3 supplements. Now, why is this not vegan? You guys know why? So I was looking into this product called lanolin. Lanolin is grease from a sheep. It's wool grease. And lanolin is where vitamin D3 supplements come from. So I asked fuses.ai, what food products use lanolin? And turns out it's a precursor for D3 synthesis. You find this in some milks, cereals, supplements. There are some plant-based milks, some soy milks out there with vitamin D3 that were made from lanolin. Not all of them, not all the D vitamins, and not all the D3s even, I don't think, but some of them definitely. And so we just want to watch out. It's so strange to me that, bug excrement and sheep grease are on these like plant foods and supplements. I guess I'm not too surprised about the supplements because they always do weird extracts with that stuff. But guys, the third nomination for most surprising non-vegan product, this one took me by surprise. Maple syrup. Why is maple syrup not vegan? So this photo is actually of my parents' countertop. I was at their place for Thanksgiving, and a family friend, shout out Kathy, love her, she brought over all this maple syrup for everyone. Like, she lives in Vermont, and she has a friend who's a farmer. So she was hanging out at the sugar shack last spring, doing the boiling. So she's telling the story about how they make maple syrup. She says, you know how many times they have to boil it down, like the concentration? And I was like, yeah, it's about 40. She said, yeah, it's like 38 gallons of maple sap to 1 gallon of maple syrup. And she said, yeah, as we're boiling it to keep the foam down, we put a pat of butter in there, and we're keeping warm. And she's continuing with the story. And I'm like, wait, did I just hear pat of butter? You put butter in that? And, she was telling the story. I didn't have really time to ask her, but later that night I asked my brother and some friends, family that were just hanging out. I said, did you guys hear that? Did you hear her say that put butter in the maple syrup? Someone said, yeah, I heard that. We looked it up. Turns out mapletrader.com, the forum, will tell you that, yeah, putting in butter in the maple syrup as it's boiling is a common remedy to keep the foaming at bay, to keep it from bubbling and foaming over. And some of the old timers used bacon. Now, I don't know if they put a couple pieces in there or if they just like rub it on the sides of the tank, but this is questionable for me. I heard that. I go, wait a minute, do I even want to eat this now? I mean, she said they only use like a tiny bit of butter. It's like a tablespoon for the whole 38 gallons. And then a lot of the commercial maple producers will use like an oil, like a plant oil that is flavorless. It's the small scale maple producers that will use butter. So, if that matters to you, you can ask your maple farmer how they did it. But it might be so negligible that you don't care. But I just thought that was very, very interesting. I had never, ever heard that before. And I've boiled maple syrup. Like, I've made maple syrup from the sap. I don't remember the butter part. So that was pretty fascinating to me. Our most surprising non-vegan product nominations: oranges, because of the lac resin, vitamin D3 that use lanolin, which is sheep grease, and maple syrup, which uses butter. The judges have spoken, and I was so surprised to see that maple syrup had butter in it. I was like, what? And spoiler, guys, I'm the judge here. This is all my opinion. We're doing some voting, but this whole thing is rigged to just what I think. But hey, welcome to my YouTube channel, folks. Subscribe if you haven't already. All right, most sinister food product. Now, sinister is giving the impression that something is harmful or evil is happening or will happen. Okay? Sinister, evil, demonic, nefarious. Okay? There's a lot of food products out there that are driving us into this dark energy. And let's talk about some of them. This year, Liquid Death launched their energy drink line, and they're surpassing billions of dollars in income. Now, this is a company that calls their product Liquid Death. I don't know if you guys know about the science done on emotions affecting water molecules, and not just emotions, but words. Words affecting water molecules. Intention affecting water, which is conscious. Water holds information. Water is conscious. And we're labeling it death and we're drinking it down and we're going, yeah. So this year, Liquid Death achieved $1 billion in sales. They were ranked as one of the world's most innovative companies, and they're setting a new line of energy drinks set to launch in 26. So Liquid Death, you know, you can drink it if you like, but there's no guarantee that that water doesn't look like exactly like that skull with his skin melting off. You know, there's no guarantee the water doesn't look like that. All right, second nomination for most sinister food product. I found these in a gas station in the South. I don't know if they're selling them everywhere, but zombie Takis, not just regular old artificial flavor MSG laden Takis. No, we're talking zombie flavored, baby. Now, zombies are dead people. You guys know that. You guys know that zombies are dead people. So why would you eat something called dead people snacks? Bruh. Oh, they want to see the ingredients on those things? Corn flour, vegetable oil, which has 3 oils in it: palm, soybean, and canola. Canola oil is an engine lubricant. Soybeans are heavily monocropped and poisoned. And palm oil causes deforestation and terrible ecological disaster where palm is harvested. So yeah, vegetable oil, seasoning, maltodextrin, salt, citric acid, dextrose, monosodium glutamate, sugar, onion powder, natural and artificial flavors, because the natural flavors ain't going to cut it for zombie flavored. Yellow 5, blue 1, yellow 5, gum arabic, and mannitol. Now, I thought they were banning the food colorings. And apparently they are, but they're not going to go into effect until next year. And even so, some local judges are blocking legislation to roll back the allowance of food colorings and food dyes. So anyways, yeah, zombie Takis, most sinister food product. You got my vote. And ghost dots. Now, this may seem benign. This is like during the Halloween season. The ghost flavored dots. Which flavor? Which ghost? And do you guys see the double meaning in that? WHICH flavor. WHICH ghosts. But think about the homophone, which. A homophone is 2 words that sound the same but mean different things. Or are spelled differently as well. So which and which, WITCH. Now sub out CH for TCH. Which flavor? Which ghost? It's a mystery. Great for trick or treat is what it says up top. So it's all this death culture, Halloween programming, witches, ghosts, and gotta love this. Strawberry, lemon, lime, cherry, orange. But then there's none of those fruits in the ingredient list. Those are the flavors created with artificial flavoring. So anyways, I saw this Halloween and I said, man, are they literally trying to kill us? Or are they trying to get us to kill ourselves through this food system? All right, guys, get me out of here. Oh, let's look at the ingredients on the dots. Yes, corn syrup, sugar, modified food starch. If you guys see that on the ingredients list, do not eat it. It doesn't even tell you what kind of food starch it is. It doesn't say corn starch. It doesn't say this or that. It's just food starch modified. So that is GMO. Malic acid, natural and artificial flavors, sodium citrate, and blue 1. So it's just blue 1. Nice. Even though all the other ones, blue 1, yellow 5, look up the health studies connected to these food additives. Look up the kind of, psychological and like social disorders that are that come up when kids eat these things regularly. It's terrible. But is it as sinister as the next category, the next nomination here? Hold on. I got to add this video because if I play it from here, you won't hear the sound. I got to add it from my computer. But basically, to set this up, there's been a lot of claims of cannibalism and claims of human meat in the food system. This one, here we go. Hang on one sec.
Told y'all 18 weeks ago that we been eating each other. This post aged very well, ain't it? Now y'all see what I'm talking about? Mind you, cannibalism is legalized in over 48 motherfucking states. Just check out this meat chart. Yeah, read this shit. You think it's a coincidence people making charts like this? This shit been made for a long ass time. Y'all remember watching Clone Tyrone and that boy say, it's in the food. Fuck is you talking about? It's in the chicken. It's in everything.
Losing my last brain cell in this car because I just want to know. I want to know how I've been sitting here eating this meat and I noticed a row of teeth in my shit. And that ain't it. They got the top and bottom jaw in my shit. I just sat here and ate this food and bit into somebody's molar. And I'm saying somebody because I don't know if this is an animal or a
Oh, man. He's not having a good day. Yeah, but I wouldn't either if that was in my food. But again, what can we do with like a clipped clip of people talking in the car? You know, did she really find that? I don't know, maybe. But a lot of more people are talking about it. And in fact, this lawmaker is going to mention cannibalism as well. Give me one sec. I got to pull this one up now. Sorry. This is my first time using StreamYard and doing a YouTube live. So thank you guys for bearing with me and being here. I really appreciate it. And which one is it going to be? This one? Yeah. Okay, so I got this from Kev Ramon. He put the captions on top. He put the message on top. It's not what I would put up there, and I'll tell you why. Oh, it won't let me share all these videos. I got to remove some. Excuse me.
Agree.
Oop, wrong one. Yeah, we're doing it live, ladies and gentlemen. Try that again. Add video. Okay, here we go.
It might seem kind of gruesome, and kind of is. I'm going to give you a little background of what got me to this position to run this bill. Back in 2019, I heard that Washington State was starting to do human composting, and that disturbed me. I wanted to address this because what I didn't want to see is bags of compost with human bone fragments. I want to stop it getting into the human food supply. I was on a plane this summer, watched a video of some food show, and the three contestants tasted the food and they had to guess what was in it. It was some kind of a sausage, and one of the options they told these people that was in the food was human flesh.
Can you tell us the 3 secret ingredients that might be found in this amazing sausage that you made for us today?
The 3 secret ingredients that might be found in this sausage are fish liver, human flesh, or shark.
All right. Are those really the 3 ingredients?
Yeah, fish liver, human flesh, or shark.
Is this
separate?
Is it?
And as I said, there's a stigma surrounding this.
We're good. We will clear this. We're good. Come on, Brian, please.
All right. Yo. Thank you, Kev. Thank you very much. All right, Joe. Fish liver, shark,
or human flesh.
God help you, it better be shark.
All right, 2, what do you think it's going to be?
Shark too.
Shark?
The liver is like too obvious, and I don't think it's human flesh, so I think it's shark.
Chef Keith, can you tell us what is the secret ingredient in this dish?
Yes, I'm afraid you're both wrong. It is human flesh.
No. No.
Whoa.
Not okay. That's not all right.
You know,
The way our society's going and the direction we're going, this is going to be normalized. There's only one state in the union that it is illegal, cannibalism is illegal, and that is Idaho.
Okay. What do you guys think about that? Pretty wild, right? Now, I actually don't like how that video was presented. Because if you were to watch the rest of that cooking show, like the very next scene is them going, "You're on a prank show. Ha 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 ha. We're joking. It was just a prank." So they didn't eat human flesh, I don't think, on that television show. Because if you watch the clip out of context, you'll think that they did. And so this is why I just want to warn you guys, don't believe everything you see on the internet. I think Abraham Lincoln once said that. So, you know, and he put the caption on there, "It's not a conspiracy anymore." And that's even misused. That term is misused. I think what he meant to say is it's not a theory anymore. Although if he did say that, he would be incorrect, because guys, I'm sorry to break it to you, it's still a theory. Like, have we ever seen proof, absolute proof, that there's human flesh in the fast food system? We've seen a lot of reasons why that might happen, or why that might be the case. You know, especially looking at the Old World Florida video from last year about the connection between the Knights of the Golden Circle, the KKK, and KFC, and all the fast food chains. So, oh, and the other movies that, you know, he referenced, Clone Tyrone and the Kingsman and Soylent Green, and all these movies insinuating that there's human flesh in the food system. I just don't know to what extent it's in there. I really don't know. So those are our most sinister food products: liquid death, zombie Takis, ghost dots, and human flesh. But since I don't even think that we can corroborate actual human flesh being in the food system, even though it likely could be, I'm going to go ahead and change that to animal flesh, because that's almost as sinister, people. Oh, I'm not sharing anymore. All right. We had human flesh in there for the nomination, but last minute, we're going to swap it out, y'all, for animal flesh, because that's just as sinister. If you could imagine your favorite dog getting hung up on that rack, bled, skinned, you know, drained, butchered, eaten, that seems very, very sad, very sinister, very disgusting. If you were imagine really any animal, and you had to do it, like a cow. We love eating our burgers and steak, right? Or I used to. But could you actually drive that bolt, boom, through the cow's head? Could you, get it on the kill line, get its foot, its hoof, like hooked onto this big chain, yank it into the air, get its skin, drain its blood, do all that nasty crap? I don't think so. That's sinister, man. Now, yes, animal tooth and human tooth, there is a difference. Humans have characteristic teeth. And I don't know where she got that jaw. Like, I think my thing as a skeptic is I can't take a little Instagram clip at face value. I don't know if that was a prank. A lot of people are doing pranks and setups and jokes these days, so we got to watch out for that. If I found the human jaw in my food, I would freak out. But I just don't know if that video was real. And when you follow up on what the second video we watched said, it was a prank, and she's just trying to she was trying to influence legislation, introduce a bill like banning cannibalism, because it actually is legal in many states. Anyways, all right. Well, it looks like the winner of the most sinister food product 2025, not only because I don't want to get hit with a lawsuit for naming brand names, and I think this is the most sinister thing you can do is kill an animal and eat its blood, eat its flesh, its decaying corpse. That's going to get my vote for the most sinister food product of the year. And we're on to the worst trend, people. There's been a lot of bad trends, and this year had many, many, many of them. So we have been seeing Mr. Carnivore MD jump ship, right? He's no longer on the carnivore diet, even though he wrote the book, literally, that influenced all these people to start doing it. Then he came out this year and said, oh, my electrolytes are imbalanced and, I can't get it up and this and that. And so he's eating all this fruit now. So he changed his mind. And this lady, disgusting. I don't know why she kept getting suggested to me on Instagram. Probably because I go in there and I comment stuff. That probably makes it into the algorithm. But I'm just trying to do my part on the front lines here on these comment sections. But part of me thinks that she's kind of like paid to do this, that she's not an organic, regular random person. We're going to talk about how the meat industry influences social media a little bit later. So, okay, the carnivore diet is nomination number 1. Nomination number 2 will be puberty blockers for children. Okay, so puberty blockers are gonadotropin releasing hormone analogs. And when taken regularly, these GnRH analogs stop the body from making sex hormones, which includes testosterone and estrogen. Lupron has never been FDA approved for gender dysphoria, only for precocious puberty and advanced prostate cancer. And likewise, there have never been long-term studies on using these drugs for gender issues. Some of the risks of taking puberty blockers include infertility and microgenitalia, among many, many, many others. And my question for parents is, can children actually consent to using these drugs? Can they? Can children consent to getting a tattoo? Can children consent to, drinking alcohol? I think our position is that children don't have the capacity to understand the risks and to know and be mature enough to assess those risks and to make a healthy decision for themselves. So puberty blockers for children is a big, big, big trend that's been going on the past few years. It is slowing down. This clip was taken at the Federal Trade Commission workshop done on the dangers of gender transition and gender affirming healthcare, they call it. Let me pull it up for you. Here we go.
Has been dosed with Lupron and testosterone starting at 12. I received a bilateral mastectomy just 1 month after my 13th birthday. I went straight from training bras to binding, straight to the operating table at 13. The reason why is because I had undiagnosed autism and unaddressed childhood sexual trauma. I was scared to become a woman. I was getting unwanted male attention, which made me fearful of being victimized again. I had sensory issues I didn't know how to cope with when I began menstruating and needing bras. I learned about transgenderism at 11, and I thought maybe that was the reason I was so uncomfortable. I brought the idea to the therapist I'd been seeing, and she immediately affirmed me, gave me a diagnosis of gender dysphoria, and once I told my parents, she began writing referrals for doctors specializing in pediatric transition care. Never along the way did anyone question why I suddenly wanted to become a boy. They didn't comprehensively screen me for mental health disorders or ask me about any prior trauma. I saw Suzanne Watson in Kaiser Oakland's Proud Clinic, and within 90 minutes, she signed off for me to receive testosterone and meet with a surgeon named Winnie Tong. The mastectomy was explained to me at 12 using watered-down terms like top surgery. I was told I would never be able to chest feed. I was told I might lose sensation, but to me, at 12, that equated to numbness. But today I deal with nerve pain, extreme slicing sensations, electrical zaps, and itchiness. I could scratch my skin until I bleed, but with no relief because the skin is numb and doesn't register touch. However, the nerves underneath are erratic. I'm nearing 8 years post-op this September. As you can probably all tell, my voice is permanently lowered from the testosterone I took from 12 to 17. I do have a slight Adam's apple. I can't raise my voice for long periods of time. I can't scream if I'm in danger. Mind you, I'm a pretty small person, standing at about 4'11". I still grow facial hair that I have to deal with. I have atrophy and urinary issues. Testosterone also damaged my liver. I've had fatty liver disease since about 14. The Lupron essentially put my body in menopause. I gained weight. My psychiatric issues flared up. I experienced intense hot flashes, which made it really difficult to focus on my 7th grade homework. Today I live with chronic joint pain. I'm only 20. At no point along the way was I offered an off-ramp. I didn't even know what detransition was until I was almost 18 and began to taper myself off the hormones, scared to go back to the doctors. Even at 18, I called member services and requested my name and gender marker be switched back and to receive a new insurance card to reflect that change. Weeks later, I received one in the mail with my male name. I'm here today to speak out against gender-affirming medical practices for minors. We are letting vulnerable children be irreversibly harmed by a medical system that affirms without asking why. We need to protect children from these rushed experimental interventions. Let kids grow up whole. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. What a powerful testimony from Layla Jane there. Did you hear that it only took 30 minutes? Is that what she said? In the doctor's visit to be prescribed. What did she say? I forget what she said. I'm sorry. And get on her way to surgery. These children are being rushed into surgery. These children are being rushed into medications that they don't understand the consequences of. And I think this year, finally, the trend is actually starting to reverse. Which is a good thing, because this is one of the worst trends, is to poison children. Okay, and maybe the drug isn't poison. Maybe that's an inflammatory term. Here's what we should do for our children. Teach them that they're perfect and whole. Teach them that, hey, it might be uncomfortable in your body right now. That's normal. People your age go through a lot of discomfort, a lot of hormonal changes. It's normal, but I'm here to support you, and I'm here to help you realize that you're perfect. You're made in God's image. Instead of telling kids, oh yeah, no, you have a disorder. Yeah, we got to switch your gender right away. Yeah, we got to cut your breasts off. Yeah, we got to give you all these crazy hormones, and then hormone blockers that really prevent your endocrine system from working properly. And your endocrine system is, it's the hormone releasing system. It's a very, very delicate and complex system that knows what to do. Obviously, environmental pollutants and toxins can disrupt that as well. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of people's sexuality and hormones changing. I mentioned atrazine earlier. Look into atrazine. By the way, corn is commonly sprayed with atrazine. So if you eat corn, please buy it organic, local, grow your own. A lot of the conventional corn uses the herbicide atrazine that has been shown to turn the frogs gay. All right, so puberty blockers and gender affirming care for children. Worst trend. What do we got? What else we got? Oh, biometric data collection. This is the third nomination for the worst trend. A lot of progress has been made And when I say progress, I mean, according to the technocrats who are trying to lock us all down into this, technological control system where they're collecting all of our personal data and connecting that to a social credit system. Now, just this year, Homeland Security announced $1 billion upgrade for TSA. Now, who wants to start the defund TSA movement with me? I think we should move to defund them. Not the police, TSA. We don't need them. We flew just fine before 2001. Anyways, biometric data collection is a huge, huge thing that's going on right now, pushing us into the technocratic control grid. And I think that's one of the worst trends out there. Here's another one, antinatalism. Do you guys know antinatalism? It is the view that thinks humans are a burden and a cancer and should not procreate. So I have some friends who are vegan who also take it to this antinatalist perspective where they say, humans should not procreate. It's morally wrong to bring new people into the world without their consent. But it's like, come on, man. We can make this world a better place. I know that there is a lot of harm, a lot of ugliness, a lot of bad, evil stuff out there in the world, but that's no reason to kill off all the humans or just to prevent us from breeding. And granted, they don't want to prevent us. Maybe some of the antinatalists do, but for the most part, they just choose to not procreate and try to spread the word that humans are bad. I'm not an antinatalist. This gets my vote for one of the worst trends of 2025 because we should be fruitful and multiply, y'all. So what do you guys think? Any votes? Cast them now. The carnivore diet, puberty blockers, biometric data biometric data collection, and antinatalism. I brought this question to Instagram, and most people voted for the puberty blockers for the worst trend. I mean, it's funny that no one voted for the technocratic biometric data collection. Maybe because that's not as invasive. Yeah, puberty blockers are pretty pernicious. We just don't know the long-term effects. And I think that's why it's actually starting to trend the other way. You can opt out of biometrics more or less. I just think of China with all the street cameras that just get your face anyways. There's no way to opt out of that. You're connected. They have your name and your number and they got everything on you. Are we turning into China? I'm not sure. Let's opt out as much as we can. So yes, I'm going to go with the people on this one and agree that puberty blockers and gender affirming care has been one of the worst trends. Now I say that with all the love in my heart for my trans friends. I have a lot of trans friends. They're great people. I also have a lot of friends that eat animals. Great people. I despise animal eating. I think it's ugly. I think it's deadly. It's violent. It makes you stink. But that doesn't mean I'm against people who do that. I draw a distinction between the people and the action. So please don't think that I'm anti-trans people. I love my trans friends. I'm not anti-anybody. But I am most definitely against giving drugs to children when there's many other things we could do to help them feel comfortable in their bodies. So you guys can go to ftc.gov and find this it's like a 7-hour video of this workshop they did on the dangers of gender affirming care for minors this year. So I guess thanks, President Trump. I've never said that. Never said that before. Speaking of Donald Trump, we are at the biggest psyop of the year. This is one of my favorites. Gotta love a psyop. What is a psyop? PSYOP is short for psychological operation. Okay, these are highly studied. This is no conspiracy theory. There's a psychological operation division in the Army. It's a favorite tactic of the military. Why? Because you don't have to have a hot war to win your battles. You can have a cold war where there's no, where the weapons aren't bombs. The weapons are information. So there are psyops going on all the time, believe you me. And one of the biggest has made it to my YouTube cover for this show. Our friend, the Secretary of the Health and Human Services Department, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the whole MAHA movement, I think, is one of the biggest psyops of this year. They came in guns a-blazing, right? They did all this auditing. They did all this shutting down of this and that. And, they kind of steamrolled a lot of these systems that we had set up. Pissed off the liberals real bad. Pissed off the left. And this is an article from CNN, which is sort of a left-wing news media agency. Look at how they make him look. They make him look like a gremlin, right? Like a sunburnt raisin with a brain worm, right? And yeah, the left loves to just rag on Kennedy, and the right loves to paint him as a hero. And this is why you can tell it's a psyop, is if there's a huge divide amongst the people, and you're in this camp or you're in that camp. Making people fight amongst each other is one of the favorite tactics of the controllers and the social engineers, because it creates confusion, it creates disharmony amongst people, and it creates infighting. So here you can see that he looks like a strong, like superhero. And then in the left wing picture, he looks like an old geezer. So I think the whole MAHA movement actually is a psyop, because they're getting us to argue about food coloring, vaccines, seed oils. And meanwhile, all the friends of this cabinet, the people in Palantir and Elon Musk, they're building this technocratic control grid. They're building something really dark and sinister to push us further into subjugation. So, yay, we can all clap for RFK, and maybe he is doing some great stuff, because in a psyop, there's always like an element of truth in there. Maybe he's doing some great stuff getting us to audit various health systems, gender affirming care, things like that. But is he a distraction? Right? Is he getting us to all worship beef tallow now? Right? So that's why I'm nominating the MAHA movement for biggest psyop. It's a joke to me. Here they are eating McDonald's. Give me a break. Oh, yeah, and here are their friends, right? Palantir just merged with Teletracking, the market leader in healthcare operations platforms. So Palantir just merged with the leading company for healthcare operations platforms. They merged, and they're going to create AI healthcare system. Gotta love it. That's what's going on underneath this MAHA facade. Okay, second nomination for the biggest psyop is anti-veganism. Anti-vegan campaigns. So here is someone admitting on Reddit that they were paid to discredit veganism online. He worked for a meat industry trade group. Their job was to go on sites and discredit veganism. So a lot of these people that I'm arguing with in the comments sections and, on social media, they might not even be real people. They might be totally paid shills. So Big Beef has lobbying power. They have propaganda power. And a lot of this carnivore diet and anti-vegan rhetoric you hear is not just regular people and like young doctors like finding something and speaking out. It's the totally manufactured movement here. So you got to watch out for that. Oh, and also, I was going to bring this up when I introduced the concept of a psyop. If you guys don't know who Michael Aquino is, or if you're skeptical about there being psychological operations on American people, please just read about Michael Aquino. Just read his Wikipedia page. You'll see that he was a high-level special officer in the psychological operations department of the Army. He wrote a number of their manuals. He's a known Satanist, and he was implicated in a child sexual abuse scandal, the Presidio scandal in San Francisco. So these are the types of people who write the literal handbooks on psychological operations. And you can read in one of his papers called From Psyop to Mind War, where he talks about elevating psychological operations to a new level of mind war, where all information is controlled and information streams are all basically co-opted and injected with whatever message they're trying to put out there. So anyone watching this thinking, oh, there's no psyop, dude, they're all over the place. So this whole carnist anti-vegan movement and rhetoric online, I think, is one of them. Here's another one. You can't leave a conversation about 2025 without talking about 3i Atlas, the puzzling, meteor just barreling through space that's threatening humankind, and we don't know if aliens are going to crash into our planet. Bruh. 3i Atlas is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. In fact, I'm going to expose a lot of this space garbage. Why is everybody so afraid of meteors and asteroids? Name one meteor that's ever crashed into Earth. That we know crashed into. There's a lot of meteors that people say, oh, this crater was formed by a meteor a million years ago. No. Show me a video of one meteor ever crashing into Earth. Okay? In fact, show me a video of us flying a rocket to the moon, because I've never seen one. All you got to do is strap a GoPro to a rocket on the window. Shit, I'll buy it for you guys. I'm talking to you, NASA. I will buy you the GoPro. I know you're spending all your money on helium and propaganda. You may not be able to afford the GoPro, but let's just show us the trip to the moon, man. Come on. So anyways, 3i Atlas, big psyop to get us to worry about intergalactic threat. All right? Don't worry about that stuff. And last but not least, good old seed oils. Seed oils have been a huge conversation, really spurred by Paul Saladino, who, by the way, how ironic is it that the biggest meat eating proponent, his last name means little salad? He's got salad in his name. And he's all anti-seed oil. Seed oils are the cause of disease. He's getting all these people to think that seed oils are the cause of disease. Now, I'm not here telling you that seed oils are good for you, but they're not the singular cause of the destruction of Western health. In fact, all this seed oil fear is driving people to eat beef tallow, okay? And other just disgusting animal-based fat. When the question should really be, what is the role of any type of oil and fat in our diet? So anyway, guys, we have the 4 nominations for biggest psyop. Oh, I guess I didn't label that. I should say biggest psyop at the top. RFK Jr. and the Maha movement, Make America Healthy Again. Anti-vegan campaigns, meteors and aliens, and seed oils. And you know what the winner is on this one? You guessed it. The Maha movement, baby. Now, again, they've done some good stuff, on paper, exposed some things, started some good conversations, but, he's still promoting ivermectin. Kennedy's still promoting beef tallow. He's still promoting vaccines. Not all of them, but some of them. Okay? And if you put me in charge of the Make America Healthy movement again, everyone's starting a garden. Everyone's going to audit their food choices. There won't be forced, you got to eat this, you got to eat that, but literature will just be dispersed everywhere, right? We're having lessons in schools about plant-based eating, about natural food, about growing gardens, and about mindfulness, clean water, fresh air, drugs, the role of drugs. And that's what we're going to do for our children to keep America healthy. So thanks, no thanks, Maha. All right, just a couple more left, guys. A couple more left. Thanks for being here. We're 2 hours in already. And I'm loving the comments. I'm loving the participation. Thank you again. Happy New Year, by the way. I forgot to really, emphasize that. This is our New Year's Eve show. Looking back at the entire year, it's been a good one. Feel free to comment any of your favorite moments in 2025. Any moments, but related to health would be cool too. Okay, we got 4 hot takes for you right now. This first one is from Dr. Michael Greger, a renowned plant-based doctor who says, do not eat pawpaws. All right, apparently pawpaws are bad for you. Let's listen to why.
Pawpaw is the largest fruit native to North America.
And I just have to apologize for this man's voice. Okay, sorry.
Weighing up to 2 pounds. Look at these beauties. You can just scoop it right out. Pawpaws taste like a mixture of bananas, mangoes, and pineapples. They're like a tropical banana-mango custard, but found in temperate forests across the eastern United States, nourishing humankind for thousands of years, and now complete with their own pawpaw festivals. Pawpaws are my favorite fruit, or should I say were my favorite fruit. One of the reasons I moved to rural Virginia was because the property had a whole grove of pawpaw trees. I was going to be set for life. That is, until I ate a few too many on the first harvest, became quite ill, and actually looked them up. Pro tip in the future, look to see if a food is toxic before you eat lots of it. Little did I know the pawpaw belonged to an infamous family of fruits that contain 3 different types of neurotoxins. I'd actually done a video years ago warning people not to eat soursop, also known as graviola, but didn't realize pawpaws were related. The family includes soursop, guanabana, sweetsop, sugar apple, cherimoya, and custard apple, which are all linked to a neurodegenerative disease called progressive supranuclear palsy, which is like a treatment-resistant Parkinson's with hallucinations, widespread brain atrophy, and dementia. And consumption of these fruits is associated with about 20 times the odds of having this kind of atypical Parkinson's syndrome. Expose rats to even a fraction of the dose that people were exposed to, and they develop the same kind of brain lesions you see on autopsy in human victims. And in several patients who stopped consuming these fruits, the progression of their condition ceased, and in one patient, the symptoms even disappeared after a change in diet. There's an urgent need to raise public awareness about the neurotoxicity of this family of fruits, which are often ironically praised for their taste and medicinal value.
All right, so don't eat pawpaws. Pawpaws are toxic. That is a take from Dr. Michael Greger. And, I was kind of not into it when I heard it because I love pawpaw. And actually this year I went and got pounds and pounds and pounds, dozens and dozens of pounds of pawpaw. And so I looked into the studies that he was referencing. Most of them did not show that the fruit itself was toxic. They showed that the leaves were toxic, that the seeds were toxic, and that the extracts of the seeds, the leaves, and the fruits may have been toxic. But not many studies showed just the fruit itself. So that caused me to say, well, this might all be bullshit. I'm going to finish that thought after I show you the other nominations. Okay, so we had Michael Greger on Pawpaws with a potential toxicity in that fruit. Here we are with Anthony, medical medium, saying that intermittent fasting is dangerous. Here we go.
Fasting means running on adrenaline. That should be its definition, should be defined by that. Running on adrenaline until your adrenals say F you, and now you're running on empty. Over time, people who do the intermittent fasting too long end up running on empty adrenals. Adrenals that can't pull it off anymore. They can't do what they need to do anymore. They're shot. They get shot. That's what happens, okay?
All right. Does intermittent fasting really kill your adrenals? Now, if you guys don't know about Medical Medium, he's very, very, very popular. And he's never referenced one scientific study ever in his writings. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but he makes a lot of claims, never backs them up, because every piece of information he tells you, you know where it comes from? The voice in his head. I'm dead serious. He calls it the spirit of compassion. And that's beautiful. I think he actually may very well be tapped in to some type of spirit that's channeling him information. The people who do use his techniques and his protocols, they do great. They show a lot of healing. He promotes mostly raw plant foods, and then minimal stimulants, minimal salt, minimal animal products. So he gets people on a good track, but now he's out here telling us that intermittent fasting is dangerous. How can intermittent fasting really be dangerous, right? To not eat for 16 hours? Will that really kill your adrenals? Come on, man. There's got to be another reason why your adrenals might be yoked. And I don't know if it's not eating until like 11 a.m. That's one of the most benign and healthy things that people can do, is to like wait a little bit before you eat again, fatty. I'm just joking. Okay, so anyways, that's the second hottest take. Here we go. Another hot take from Chris Kendall, the Raw Advantage. Mucoid plaque does not exist. Oh, I'm not showing you my screen. Let me fix that. Okay, so Chris Kendall put out 3 videos, I believe, this year on mucoid plaque being debunked. Now, what is mucoid plaque? I think that's the crux of this debate and this discussion, is that people don't agree on what it is. So a lot of people say that mucoid plaque is the lining of the small intestine that is caked on and hardened from eating a standard American diet of cooked food and salt and proteins and fats and all that. And that there's this lining in our intestines that's caked that we need to eject through fasting or juice fasting or binders and colonics and things like that. Chris and his people contend that does not exist. Now, but they do say that other types of old waste in the intestines exists, and that you can eject it and release it after a fast. So his claim that mucoid plaque does not exist, I think, is a little unnuanced, because we should take the time to define what that is. And I don't hear in his videos saying very clearly, this is what y'all mean by it, and this is what I mean by it, and therefore there's no evidence for this. But there's most definitely evidence for undigested, stuck waste in the colon and in the small intestine that can all come out, maybe not all at once, but that can come out during and after liquid fasts, raw eating, but mostly during fasting, mostly during water fasting, juice fasting. You can get rid of this old hard waste. I've released a big chunk of what I would consider mucoid plaque. So anyways, the idea that it doesn't exist is one of the hottest takes I heard this year. And the last one, this lady, she goes by Glucose Goddess. She's a French biochemist, I think, or something like that, or a health coach who's really into biology. And here she is telling you that you shouldn't eat fruit alone.
Another example is mango. So tropical fruits are extra sweet.
Whoop, I got to start that at the beginning.
What about fruit? People often ask me, well, do fruit really count as naked carbs? This is kind of a complicated, nuanced question as well, because technically whole fruit contains fiber, but they also contain sugar and carbs. So really, the fiber in the piece of whole fruit almost acts like natural clothing on those carbs. It is true. However, because today the fruit that we eat has been bred for centuries to be very, very sweet and very juicy and lower in fiber, the fiber content is much lower than it would have been when nature first invented that fruit. Okay, here's an example. If you compare an ancestral banana, full of seeds and fiber, much smaller, much less sweet, and a modern day banana. Very little fiber, a lot of sugar in it. Very delicious, but also causes a bigger spike than its actual real ancestors. So it's up to you for the fruit. I always try to add a little bit of clothing to my fruit. For example, I'll add some nuts.
Clothing? That's disrespectful, man.
For nut butter. This is a really good example of a really big sweet pear, big glucose spike, and just adding a bit of nut butter to that is going to lower the spike. Another example is mango. So tropical fruits are extra sweet. So mango on its own versus the same amount of mango plus shea pudding, which is made with shea seeds and almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. Again, here you have proteins, fat, and fiber being added to the mango. So if you want, and if you can, it is helpful to add a bit of clothing to your fruit if you want to reduce the glucose spike, especially if you have them in the morning. A breakfast which is just fruit is not good enough. You
Lame.
need to have some protein in there, otherwise you're not fueling your body properly. You're going to be hungry very quickly and you're going to experience a big glucose spike.
All right. Yeah, I just don't think that's true, lady. How are the people with Mastering Diabetes getting all of their patients and clients to reverse diabetes by eating fruit? How is it that I don't get an insulin spike or a glucose spike? And how is it that I don't get hungry for hours after I eat just fruit in the morning? You know, the idea that you have to eat it with protein. And I get it. She didn't say you have to eat fruit with something else, but she says, I always do. And you're going to have a glucose spike if you just eat fruit, naked carbs, naked fruit. Plus, I think eating fruit that's high water content and very quick digesting with protein like a nut butter, which is low water content, slow digesting, that's going to cause fermentation. That's going to cause complication in the gut. Those foods don't like to be combined together. And that's just what I feel from experience and from knowing, food combining principles. Digestion speed is a big thing. And she's telling you, oh yeah, you got to dress up your fruits with shea. Lady, come on now. So, our nominations for the worst take of 2025: don't eat pawpaws, intermittent fasting is dangerous, mucoid plaque doesn't exist, and plain fruit will spike your blood sugar. Now, another word on the pawpaws. So Lucid in the Wild commented, my senses tell me they taste delicious, therefore they are not toxic and are suitable for consumption. I would also agree with you until I kind of went on like a pawpaw bender, multiple days eating many pawpaws, and I did get sick. Now, I don't know if that was from the pawpaw because this was after like a couple weeks of traveling and stress, and I had a lot of gigs and a lot of stuff going on that time. But also, other people that I was with also got sick. And it wasn't like a one-to-one, we eat a bunch of pawpaw and then go puke. It was like the next few days feeling sore throat, swollen lymph nodes, a little sluggish. Someone else told me that he had tried pawpaw for the first time and had diarrhea the next day. And that made me start to look at these studies a little bit deeper that Gregor presented. And in fact, 2 of the 12 studies on pawpaw do show neurotoxic chemicals in the fruit flesh. So, we could take apart the methods and we could make sure that this represents some true thing. I don't really know. There is a little bit of science to support pawpaws being toxic, and there's a little bit of personal experience to support this too. I mean, even Michael Greger said in the video that he went crazy on some pawpaws off the bat when he got to his property and got sick. It happened to me, it happened to my friends, it happened to a lot of people that we fed the pawpaws to, because we went and picked like 100 pounds or more. So, as much as I would not like that to be true, it might be. Okay, guys, I love pawpaw too. And, they do taste delicious, but they might actually have a little bit of a toxin in them. And a little bit of toxin is not going to kill you, right? We breathe in a little bit of a toxin whenever we go out in a city, or we eat a little bit of toxin whenever we eat something that may have had trace, pesticides on it. Our body knows how to take care of that, but we don't want to continuously burden them with toxic things. So I don't think Donny Pawpaws is going to get the worst take, because there's some validity to it. Intermittent fasting, I just don't see how that can be dangerous. He claims it kills your adrenals, but you think that that's any worse than like stuffing your face right when you get up? And then mucoid plaque doesn't exist. I think that needs a little more nuance, a little more definition by people talking about it. And plain fruit spikes your blood sugar. It might for some people. That's the thing, is if you have a high fat content in your blood, that plain fruit might spike your blood sugar. Once your body gets used to it, once your gut gets used to it, once you've sped up your digestion speed and you've made it very efficient, then plain fruit does not seem to spike your blood sugar. I've never done the glucose monitor, but I know I can feel my blood sugar levels. And go check out Robbie and Cyrus's work with Mastering Diabetes. They got a lot of their diabetes patients, type 1 and 2, in a way better place with a high fruit diet and a lot of plain fruit in the morning. So sorry, glucose goddess, but I don't agree with you on that one. I think the hottest take's got to come from medical medium. Intermittent fasting is dangerous. Intermittent fasting could be one of the healthiest things that you can do, depending on who you are. Some people are binge eating constantly. They're overeating. They're eating at odd times before they go to bed. It's disrupting their sleep. An intermittent fasting plan of just 12 or 14 hours of fasting, right? And then 10 to 12 hours of an eating window. That's not even really very efficient when it comes to autophagy, but it does get people to turn off and on the switch for eating food and consuming. So if you're eating at all times of the day, all night, all morning, introducing an intermittent fasting plan to just keep an eating window within maybe 8 hours, or 6 if you're a little more badass with it, or you don't need to eat all the time, or if you're new to it, 12 hours, don't eat within this 12-hour window. There's a lot of good benefits that comes from intermittent fasting. So medical medium, you're going to get that Soylent Green Award for the hottest take of 2025. We got a couple more categories, y'all. Biggest scam. I'm going to go through this one a little quick, and then we're going to get to the biggest threat to human health. So a lot of scams out there, y'all. Have you heard of the $2 billion lawsuit that Ozempic is facing? Why, you say? Well, the Ozempic lawsuits allege that Novo Nordisk, the manufacturers, failed to warn users and doctors about severe side effects like gastroparesis, intestinal blockages, gallbladder issues, pancreatitis, and vision loss, with plaintiffs claiming these conditions were underreported despite manufacturer knowledge, leading to thousands of cases consolidated in a federal MDL. That's multi-something legislation, I think. Anyways, yeah, a lot of people are suing and getting involved in this lawsuit because they're blind or they're losing their vision. All they wanted to do was lose some pounds, right? Guys, does health exist in the end of a needle? Does happiness exist at the end of a needle? Does a beautiful body exist at the end of a needle? We got to start figuring out how to lose weight without this crap. Semaglutide is the name of the drug. And yeah, for many people, it causes intestinal blockages. That's what gastroparesis is. Paresis is like kinesis, movement, but paralyzed movement. So, stomachs that just turn off, intestinal blockages, gallbladder disease, pancreatitis. And the manufacturers knew this ahead of time. But if you've looked into the pharmaceutical industry before, you'll see that this is nothing new. This happens all the time. So semaglutide has got to be one of the biggest scams of the year. A lot of people are on it. A lot of Hollywood, a lot of actors and people out there talking about it. Nasty, bro. Maybe you need some intermittent fasting. All right, another nomination for where are we at? Biggest scam. Beef tallow, baby. Now, this plays into the whole seed oil psyop, where they're getting us afraid of seed oils, pushing us toward bacon grease and beef tallow. Beef tallow sounds so natural, doesn't it? Yeah, go to the slaughterhouse where we're getting the ends of the industrial factory farming cow bits and pieces. Then they boil down that fat and give it to us in a nice little tin that cost only $30. And you know who's selling this too is Russell Brand. Used to be a vegan. Now he's a self-proclaimed carnivore. That won't last long. But yeah, beef tallow, it's being pushed by fast food. It's being pushed by Kennedy. It's being pushed by influencers. And it's really just fat from a cow corpse. And this one's interesting because this one is targeted and marketed to vegans. And it is B12, vitamin B12. Now, this was the year that the B12 expose happened. I had never really seen many people question vitamin B12 before this year. Anthea Hayes wrote this book called The Enigma of Vitamin B12, Nature's Only Mistake, wherein she alleges that this is another big pharma scam for the plant-based people. Because if the vegans think they can get everything that they need from plants, well, that's not good for the pharma companies, is it? No, they need to sell us something, right? So that's what this whole B12 investigation expose is. You can go watch Jeanette's video on B12 where she interviews Anthea, the author of the book. She's interviewed a lot of people talking about they don't take B12. They don't think it's necessary. They've been living, however many dozens of years vegan, no B12, no problems. Now, me personally, I don't know. I'm leaning toward the side of probably a scam. But I don't know because I've heard of people say, I was having brain degeneration and, psychosis, and that was a B12 deficiency. And then I took it and I got better. Well, that might be true. But what about the people who don't use it and don't, get the mental degeneration? And so there's a lot of wisdom in Ms. Hayes' book, in Jeanette's videos, and also in this guy, his channel, Above the Horizon. He's the vegan sign guy. He has made it his mission lately to expose B12. B12 is a lie. Science is religion. Question everything, et cetera, et cetera. He's a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? He can speak pretty eloquently on the topic. He interviewed the author of the book. And this has just been a very interesting exposition on another supplement that, do we really know the value of this? Some people Some people are going to really tell you that B12 is absolutely necessary. You have to take it as a vegan. Other people will tell you, no, I don't take any supplements. I don't think that health comes from a pill bottle. I don't think that health comes from a lab. I think that God provided me with everything on this earth that I need in the form of plants, fresh air, sunshine, life experiences, connections, relationships, plant foods, and we're going to roll with that. So yeah, B12 gets nominated for biggest scam of the year. And what do you guys think? The semaglutide weight loss drug that will paralyze your gut and potentially make you blind. Beef tallow, which is just the very, very end of the factory farming process where the scraps are all boiled down into a disgusting fat. Or B12, which might be a scam from the pharma company to sell the vegans something. And there's actually a very interesting story. I don't think I know it well enough to recount it right now, about the guy who sort of invented B12. Is like his friend was the guy that invented or found or discovered vitamin B10 and B11. And they were having coffee one day, like, yeah, this new thing that I made in a lab, what should I call it? And he's like, well, we got all these B vitamins, it might be hip and marketable to name it that. So that's what they did. And here we are today. One of these is going to win for the biggest scam. And you know what's going to be? The weight loss drug that is going to turn you blind, because I don't think that's worth it for anybody. Hey, you can lose 100 pounds, but you're going to be blind. You can lose 100 pounds, but your stomach's not going to work anymore. If that's what they told people, we wouldn't have all these people taking it. So I think they got scammed. All right. Award goes to semaglutide. Congrats. Congrats, semaglutide. You did it. Last category, everybody. We are out here. We've been doing this. How long we've been streaming now? It's been a minute. Oh, many minutes. 2 hours and a half. Cool. Thanks for being here. Much love to you guys. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Really excited to share it with you. Thanks for all the comments and support. All right, we're going to explore this last topic here, last category, biggest threat to human health. And for the first nomination, well, first I had to look up on Google, what is the biggest threat to human health? And you know what they told us. It is, right? Climate change. Yay, our favorite. But what you call climate change, I call weather modification. Think about it. The word climate is basically synonymous with the word weather, and change is basically synonymous with the word modify. So climate change, weather mod, and WX, that's the shorthand for weather mod. Oh, look at what Florida is banning. Wait a minute. How do you ban something that doesn't exist? How do you ban something that doesn't exist? Riddle me that. So anyways, there's been a lot of legislation to make illegal the practice of weather modification spraying from aircraft from public airports. So that's the thing. This is still going on from private airports, but at public airports, you're not allowed to inject, release chemicals into the sky for the purposes of science or weather influence. And while the scientists maintain that this is a good thing, that weather modification is a good thing, we know it's not. We know that messing with the Earth's natural cycles, the natural water cycle, the natural amount of sun that can reach the grass and reach our bodies, you're going to block that? You're going to diminish that by a certain percentage? Come on, man. Here's a very new article from last month. The strange and totally real plan to blot out the sun and reverse global warming. A 25-person startup is developing technology to block the sun and turn down the planet's thermostat. I love how they make it sound so simple. We're just turning down the thermostat. Bruh. An article like this comes out every 5 or 10 years. A new startup is really excited about the possibility of blocking out the sun. I tell you, they do this every 5 or 10 years. And they always say the same thing. Regulations need to catch up. It's not regulated enough. We need to see more regulation. I can show you white papers from 30 years ago that say the same exact thing. We need more regulations to regulate this technology. And they're just doing it under our noses. So biggest threat to human health, I would have to say nomination number 1 is climate change / weather modification. Oh, and by the way, this is an Israeli-US startup this time. To put global warming into reverse. Maybe I should have put global warming on my biggest scam list. Anyways, that's the biggest threat to human health is this insane blocking of the sun. Come on, bro. All right, second nomination for biggest threat to human health. This is not fried food. It's just the greater umbrella of carnism. Okay? Eating the dead bodies of animals. Why is that a threat to human health? Well, it's not only a threat because of the high amounts of protein, fat, antibiotics, drugs, fear hormones, adrenaline, cortisol found in meat. It's not just that that's bad for human health. It's the idea that we have the right to do this to animals. We have the right to take a beautiful sentient mammal or bird, make it our slave, exploit it until the day that we murder it and consume its dead body. That type of thinking is going to keep humans enslaved. Okay, we're not going to be free until we free the animals. So that's why I believe that carnism is one of the biggest threats to human health. And all these freedom truthers out there, they want freedom so bad. They're freedom fighters, America. And they're gobbling down corpses of enslaved animals that never knew the smell of freedom. And I get it. I'm being a little hard on eating animals. I'm very passionate about it. Imagine if you saw all these people eating humans, like everyone turned into a zombie, and you're like, yo, this is messed up. We got to stop. That's kind of how I feel about eating all these cows. It's really, really twisted. And granted, I did it for 34 years. I ate a lot of meat. I loved it for 34 years. And I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. I mean, I kind of did. I had killed the chicken and eaten it. Like I put that together. I know what that feels like. But I still didn't understand the idea that if I want to be free, then I shouldn't enslave others, right? That if I don't want to be exploited, I shouldn't exploit others. And that's not just for humans, that's all animals. Okay, biggest threat to human health. I would have to also nominate the technocracy. Now I got to pull up this video file real quick. Thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate you. Where is that? Oop, not supposed to have dead air happening. Yeah, if I play it from the slideshow, oh, here we go. It won't have sound. So let me pull it in, add to stage. Guys, this is the World Economic Forum's brain architect, Nita Farahany. Am I saying that right? I never said her name before. We'll call her Nita. Nita's brain architect. Darkest quotes. All right, so she's talking about how the technocratic system is growing. Take a listen.
Every camera you walk past that is integrated with AI systems increasingly can decode mental states.
Decoding mental states from cameras. So this is why when we were talking about earlier with the biometric data collection, you can always opt out. Yeah, until they just have a camera in the street, they capture your face and they say, oh, based on our AI reading of your face, you seem angry at the government and we're going to penalize you or something like that. This is where it could be taken if it was taken to the extreme. Decoding mental states from a camera.
There's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. People believing that they've been at Disney World with characters who are not Disney characters, taking photographs with those characters.
Those products
Planting false memories. That's pretty fire.
are hitting the market this year. What they will be capable of doing is very high-level brain state reading. Things like, are you tired? Are you paying attention? Is your mind wandering? Are you happy or sad?
One of the emerging areas that's really interesting in law neuroscience is pain detection. And once we understand the circuitries that cause pain, I guess the question is, could we then instill pain and use that in many coercive measures in the legal system as well?
Yo, that's crazy, bro. We're figuring out how the brain decodes pain, but can we instill it remotely and use that in coercive measures? That's great.
We can pick up and decode faces that you're seeing in your mind. Simple shapes, numbers, your PIN number to your bank account.
Yeah, so the World Economic Forum right now is really pushing this technology to, I keep using the word technocracy, for the technocracy to take over. Technocratic, crassy is the suffix for government or rulership. Techno is technology. So we're going to be governed by technology. When AI systems are attached to these cameras, attached to all sorts of sensors, the AI is going to decode and sort of interpret your biometrics and then act on that somehow. So I do believe this is one of the biggest threats to human health is the meddling with AI systems and technocratic control. Okay, another big threat to human health. Oh, wait, let me take this down. Biggest threat to human health 2025. Joe Rogan. At first, it was going to be like the alien invasion, because that's what he's talking about in this clip. And I'm going to share it with you in a sec. But I think a bigger threat than the aliens, because that's not real, is Joe Rogan himself. Because he talks a lot of shit on his show. And he seems to be getting less smart as the days go on. I can't actually stand listening to him anymore. I did years ago. He had some good guests on. And I was just getting into podcasts. But Joe the Toe. Okay, if you're listening to this and you develop apps, I need your help. I want your help developing an app. We're going to call it the No Rogan Experience. And it's going to be episodes of his show with his voice removed and edited shorter, just so it's everything said by the guest and nothing said by Joe. But anyways, let's listen to Joe talk about what he believes is the biggest threat to human health.
Let's all agree on something first. Let's agree that human beings have a detrimental effect on Earth. We can all agree on that.
We can't all agree on that, but go ahead.
Let's agree that human beings overfish the ocean. Let's all agree on that. Let's all agree that we pollute the air, we pollute the oceans, we pollute the rivers. All that is terrible. All that should be fixed. Let's all agree on that. Once we agree on that, that's not the greatest threat to human life. The greatest threat to human life is asteroid impacts. Well, nuclear war for sure if we do that to each other. That's number one. But after that, it's asteroid impacts. And asteroid impacts, you can't do a fucking thing about them.
You could do something.
Man, Theo Vaughn tries to chime in. He goes, you can do something. Joe's like, no, you can't. Asteroid impacts, bro. Biggest threat to human health. Joe, name one asteroid impact. Name one asteroid that ever came and struck Earth. Dude, and he tries to speak on this like it's like he knows so much. Like he's so confident this is what's going to destroy the earth. Let's keep listening.
No, they're not ready yet. They can't do anything yet.
You couldn't do something. You could hide behind. You could.
No.
I love that, dude. You could hide behind something when an asteroid comes. Like Theo's like, first of all, he's a good improviser. He's a great comedian. He's playing yes and. He's trying to push along and be creative and think of other things. Joe's doing the thing that you can't do, that you shouldn't do in improv, which is to say no. And so to shut down someone's idea. So, Joe isn't even being like a good playful comedian right now because he's trying to school Theo on like the biggest threat to health is freaking asteroids, man.
You could do something.
No.
You could wear something. You could wear something.
No, okay, you're being silly.
And he goes, you're being silly. Dude, you're two professional comedians. Isn't that your job to be silly?
No,
you don't think you could 3i Atlas, that one that just passed through? It's the size of Manhattan and it's made out of metal.
How do you know 3 Atlas is made out of metal? Like, what are we doing? Are we sending ships to like dock with it and like take samples? Like, this is ridiculous, Joe. He's so lost in the space psyop.
It's a giant chunk of nickel that's the size of Manhattan.
Okay.
And it's billions of years old, and it's going, how many?
It's billions of years old, too. That's what he said. Oh, my God. That's been triggering me lately. Anytime someone says anything is a billion or million years old or in that range, I start laughing. I just start going. There's no possible way you could ever determine anything was a billion years old, even with carbon dating. Carbon dating's not that accurate. Anyways, I think that's hilarious. He's so certain that this is made of nickel. It's a billion years old, and it's barreling right toward us.
How many thousands of miles an hour was it going? Put that into perplexity.
Where would you be then?
How fast was 3i Atlas? It doesn't matter where you are. Everything's dead. The whole planet's dead.
Okay, because what
you
happens?
Have a few.
The whole planet's dead, and he also mentioned nuclear war earlier. This is a huge propaganda movement, the huge psyop that went down in our parents' generation. Many older generations are fearful of nuclear war, when a lot of people this generation are starting to see how that might have been exaggerated as a fear campaign. Now, did it work? Let's just imagine for a second that there is no nuclear bombs, that you can't ever fully destroy the earth. Let's just say that was true. Don't you think convincing everyone of nuclear war worked, and it put everyone in a state of fear? And always being on the lookout for how the world's going to end. There's always got to be a cataclysmic end looming in the distance to keep us afraid, right? And guys, fear is a killer. That's why I'm including this type of stuff in my Radical Health Awards and just this review of the health system and the health movement in spaces right now. There's too much fear. There's too much fear about external threats, whether it's a meteor, whether it's somebody else can get you sick, or the government is spying on us, or all this fear from things from the outside. I don't know where I'm going with this, but Joe just sounds so dumb talking about this asteroid.
That's it.
You have roaches, some fucking underground mammals that survive.
But you're saying it hits the planet, and then what happens? That's what I'm asking.
Everybody dies.
No.
It's miles deep into Earth in the first second. Miles deep.
But does it like impact? Like, does the Earth like shift over 20 feet? Like what?
I love Theo, man. He's just like, nah. I don't think you're. He's like, you're capping.
A massive explosion.
Oh, you're saying there's an explosion.
Not just an explosion, but it creates nuclear winter. Like the entire Earth is covered in volcanic ash. Like you're fucked. Everything's dead. Like most of the Earth is dead.
Okay.
So
maybe I'm not understanding it fully.
It seems like it.
Yeah, and then he condescendingly says, "Oh yeah, it seems like you don't understand this. Like, my science is way better than yours." and you're being silly. Joe, there's no asteroid. I can tell you that right now. There's no asteroid. But anyways, I was going to nominate, like an alien invasion as the biggest threat, but I think we just have to give this nomination to Joe Rogan himself. All right. So that is the fourth biggest threat to human life in 2025. And guys, the last nomination for this category, and this is the last category of the night, I think. Yeah, this is it. The biggest threat to human health is, look very carefully at this picture. Look very carefully. Look deep inside. That's you. Only you have the power to feed yourself, to transform your health for the better, for worse. Okay? Nobody else is doing it for you. If you're an adult, you choose what to eat, what to wear, you choose who to hang out with, you choose what kind of media you consume. You choose what kind of images, sounds you consume. Maybe not always, you go into a store and they have music playing, but for the most part, you curate your entire personal experience. And in the spirit of not blaming others for our health, I think that this black mirror right here, representing you as the biggest threat to your health, might be extremely accurate. Because, like I just said, we have personal responsibility, we have personal sovereignty, and we have freedom to choose. And will you choose the foods and the products and the energies that drain your energy, that cause burden, that back you up? Or do you want to choose and consume those things that cause health, freedom, lightness? So guys, the biggest threats to human health: weather modification, the technocracy with the AI control grid, carnism, keeping humans enslaved because we are enslaving other creatures. And that's how the law of karma works. We have Joe Rogan spitting just the dumbest stuff to the most people. And lastly, but not leastly, we have the biggest threat to human health: you. What do you think? What do you think wins? What's got your vote, guys? Joe Rogan? Yeah. I gotta do it. And I'm not saying that you threaten my health, but we are our own worst enemy here. We are all so responsible. Think about that word, response-able. It's the ability to respond to things that makes you responsible. Okay, so how do you respond to what's for lunch, what's for dinner? How do you respond to any question out there? Is that you can actually become your own health guru, your own health doctor, your own lifesaver, your own superhero, and free yourself from addiction, free yourself from pain and suffering. Okay? But that's up to you, and you have to do the work. So I think the biggest thing standing in our way, this is the last award of the night for the biggest threat to human health. It goes to our own personal decisions. Okay? So guys, thanks so much for being here. That's a wrap on the Radical Health Awards 2025. All throughout the new year, guys, you can shoot me messages, different things that you see in the health space that we can talk about in the next year. I want to have a lot of conversations next year. I got a lot of stuff to say, and we are facing a lot of new changes, a lot of new things out there, a lot of misinformation, right? We looked at psyops today and how easy it is for the controllers, if you want to call them that, the social engineers, that's a more accurate term, social engineers trying to get us to fear all sorts of things. trying to get us to eat dead bodies instead of raw living food that's given to us by God freely, that tastes delicious without having to season it or cook it. You know, we're facing a lot. There's a lot going on and we need each other. So I need you guys, you know, hold me accountable, correct me, call me out if you hear me say anything that you didn't agree with. I'd also love to hear your takes and nominations on these categories. And yeah, I'd love to do more videos. I'm going to have more interviews this year, and I'm going to put out a couple new books. I'm really excited about that. Yes, Mar R says, have a personal relationship with God is essential. I totally agree. And people define God differently. You know, is it the creator? Is it nature? Is it the universe? That creative energy, whatever you want to call it, have a personal relationship with it, with him, with it, with her, whatever you want to call it. You know, I think God is written on our hearts in the form of the Holy Spirit, and we can hear it if we just quiet down. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Everyone in the chat, Falzakov, Mar, Lucid, Gabriel, Sarah, Stacy, Connor, all you guys for being here. Thank you. Thanks for everyone who checked this out at a later time. This will be up in the live section of my YouTube channel. Check out the other videos. But let's mention the books we're doing really quick. So in the new year, I will be releasing, where did I go? The Fruit Companion. The Fruit Companion Volume 2. Oh, excuse me, it's not Volume 2. This is Edition 2. So the first edition looks like this. And the second edition, I wanted to make it bigger. I wanted to make it better. So I did just that. It is bigger. It's 0.6 inches taller. It has one more fruit on the front, so you can distinguish it from the old version, even though it looks very similar, because I wanted to keep this cover. I liked it so much. So I just changed it a little bit. It's a taller book. It has more information in it. It has more fruits in there. There's a bunch of fruits that I added, about 15 of them from the last edition. There is more frequently asked questions about fruit and fruit eating. And yes, this is going to hit the shops in the spring of 2026. So I'm really excited to release the Fruit Companion Edition 2 in the new year. I may be releasing a children's book as well, and I have a number of zines in progress now on plant-based eating, on anti-sacrifice messages in the Bible, and on greens in particular, how to grow and consume greens cheaply and healthfully. All right, y'all. Well, thanks a lot for being here. This has been an almost 3-hour show. Very fun. Glad we got to kind of bring up some of the issues this year and roast some of the ideas that were questionable. Anyways, guys, this was all satire. So don't listen to any of this. None of this is health advice. I love you all very much. I pray that God has your back, and I pray that you listen to God, because he's sending you messages every day, every second, really, if you can listen to him. I'm going to end the stream now. Yeah, big shout out to everybody. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Whatever y'all celebrate. Happy solstice. Happy full moon's coming up, I think. And yeah, I love you guys. Keep it real, because you know what happens when keeping it real goes wrong. All right, and I'm going to roll the video that I put in the beginning. If you can comment the 3 voices that I sampled in this song, you get a prize. I'm going to send you a free book. If you can name the 3 voices that are sampled in this outro music. Anyways, guys, much love again, and we'll see you next time.
Yeshua was crucified because he freed the animals in the temple. The Jewish temple was a slaughterhouse. So Yeshua, he was crucified because he liberated the animals, because he thought that animal sacrifice was morally reprehensible. So he freed the animals and turned over the tables and all of that. And he was arrested and crucified for that reason. The Ebionites were vegetarians. We know this from several sources. And we know that Yeshua's disciples were vegetarian. We know that Yeshua was probably a vegetarian. John the Baptist was vegetarian. The Essenes were vegetarians. So the Ebionites were vegetarians. If you're still eating meat, knock it off. If you're still eating meat, you still think it's cool to slaughter God's innocent, defenseless creatures just so you can have some, experience some sense pleasure and get some sustenance from the suffering of others. It's time to move on. Still doing that. Okay? Eat a vegetarian diet. That's what Yeshua taught, it's what his disciples taught, it's what the Ebionites taught, it's what the Essenes taught. The original Christian movement was a vegetarian movement. Period.
The whole purpose of the liver is to break down and utilize fats. Now, of course, you got 4,000 different reactions that the liver do. It detoxifies the body by way of glutathione. It helps you deal with sulforaphane when you're eating certain foods that open up the NRF2 pathways. It deconstructs and reconstructs amino acids and proteins. The liver is so amazing, it can take an actual protein and make it into a sugar if the body needs it. The liver is the manufacturing company of the body. It does spiritual things, if you ask me, because how is it taking one molecule and reshaping it and making it into another molecule? The liver is amazing. But its main purpose and function in the human body is to break down and utilize fats. That's how important fats are. The only thing is, if you eat fruits, because we didn't heal, the body, I'm not a healer, the body heals itself, I'm my own healer. When we assist and help facilitate the healing of people with diabetes, if you don't have fatty liver, I'm going to tell you to eat an all-fruit diet. And the reason why I'm going to tell you to eat an all-fruit diet is because you don't need glucose. And if you don't need glucose because you're bringing in the fructose, then guess what? Your pancreas beta cells don't need to produce insulin to help you bring those glucose molecules into the cells. So you give the pancreas a rest. Now, if you do have fatty liver disease, then I can't tell you to go fructose either or do fruit juices per se. I can say you can eat low glycemic fruits, but I'm going to tell you to do a high ketogenic plant-based diet where I put you on these high-fat fruits and vegetables and these low glycemic fruits and vegetables.
COVID did not bring people closer. It ruptured human connection and relationships. Human beings are a relationally dependent species. Humans have dependency needs. The COVID crisis absolutely wreaked havoc to people because of this. From all the interpersonal conflict it caused, to loss of relationships altogether, to social separation, to quarantine, to social distancing, to fearing proximity with one another. It made people deeply lonely. It made people feel detached and disconnected. It made people fear each other. It affected the way that people enter into relationships with each other. It has negatively affected the way that children have developed socially. It has normalized people to interacting via technology rather than in person. COVID was socially traumatizing. There's no way around that. It made relationships worse, and it made people worse at relationships. And people now have to integrate and heal from all of that trauma. We need to find a way to essentially come back together. And because of all of this trauma, people are in a far worse state of mental health.